All right, well, good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
It is 6 o'clock, so the work session for mayor and council for June 2nd is called to order. Ms. Rainey, can we have a roll call, please?
Yes. Good evening, Honorable Mayor Butler,
Good evening.
council members and city manager, Mr. Clark.
Good evening.
This is the roll call for the June 2nd, 2025 work session. Mayor Butler,
Present.
Councilmember James,
Present.
Councilmember Gunn,
Present.
Councilmember Gutierrez,
Present.
Councilmember Akins Wells.
Here.
Councilmember Mears.
Here.
Mayor Butler, you have a quorum.
Excellent. The adoption of tonight's agenda. Is there a motion to adopt and approve tonight's agenda?
I would like to add something, Mayor.
Okay,
It's a motion to censure you, Mayor Butler, for unprofessional conduct. So I can pass it out here and we
okay.
can vote on it later.
You want to put that on the consent agenda?
No, on the regular agenda. I'm
Well,
sorry.
we're not there yet.
Okay,
Okay.
Thank you.
Just hang tight. All right, so we're on the consent agenda.
Make a motion to approve.
Thank you. That was Councilwoman James. Is there a second?
Second.
That was Councilman Mears. Is there any discussion? All right, Ms. Rainey?
We can pass them down.
Yes.
Councilmember James,
Yes.
Councilmember Gunn,
Yes.
Councilmember Gutierrez,
Yes.
Councilmember Akins Wells,
Yes.
Councilmember Mears.
Yes, ma'am.
Wait. All right, thank you. So with the adoption of tonight's agenda, there is at the applicant's request to table item 12. And then Councilman Gutierrez would like to add a motion on here to censure the mayor for unprofessional conduct.
I didn't hear what you said. What was the?
This was the adoption of the agenda to remove item 12 at the applicant's request, and then to add the motion to censure the mayor for unprofessional conduct at the request of Councilman Gutierrez.
Okay, so move, but I have a point of order too. So move. So if we want to discuss, because we all voted for the consent agenda, but there was a few things that I wanted to discuss
On the consent agenda. So I think Councilwoman James, you made the motion, so will you consider withdrawing your motion to?
Yes, I will withdraw the motion to approve the consent agenda.
All right. So is there a second?
Second.
All right, is there any discussion? Ms. Rainey?
Yes.
Councilmember James,
Sorry. Yes.
Councilmember Gunn,
Yes.
Councilmember Gutierrez.
Yes.
Councilmember Akins Wells.
Yes.
Councilmember Mears.
Yes.
All right, what items would you like to have removed?
So I just want to discuss it and see what everybody else think. The contract for the sound people, I don't think we need to renew it. I think we need to put it back out for bid. And I
Wait,
also
hold
want
on.
to
Wait,
see,
what item is that? Oh, number 2?
and there's also, I think we discussed at the last meeting or the meeting before, the council getting their own equipment to save on these funds. I think it's more smarter to invest in the city instead of investing in someone else's business. So I think that's something we should consider.
was item
But also
2.
put it back out for bid and maybe work on getting our own equipment. So we don't have to pay $80,000 for sound.
Butler, would it be okay if we remove this item from the consent agenda and add it to new business?
So I'm making notes on your motion.
So that we can get your questions answered.
That's fine.
Our Director of Rec and Leisure is actually on vacation. And I'm not sure if the second in command is here.
He is on Zoom, though. He dropped off, okay.
I think we'll be able to answer your questions, Councilwoman Wells.
Thank you.
Was there another item?
Item number 2.
Hold on.
So there needs to be a motion to.
Hold on, I'm making notes. Okay. Let's move. So is there a motion to adopt tonight's consent agenda with the removal? Well, we're adding item 2 to the regular agenda.
So move.
All right, that was Councilwoman Wells. Is there a second?
I'll second.
All right, that was Councilwoman James. Is there any discussion? All right, Ms. Rainey?
Councilmember James.
Yes.
Councilmember Gunn.
Yes.
Councilmember Gutierrez.
Yes.
Councilmember Akins Wells.
Yes.
Councilmember Mears.
Yes.
All right. So did we do the addition and the removal on the regular agenda? We're gonna do it again just for GP.
Yeah, you just had a motion on the floor. The motion was made by Ms. Wells, but there was not a second.
Okay,
There was a.
is there a second?
James can, she seconded.
Okay.
Second.
Is there any discussion?
So, point of order, Madam Mayor.
Yes, ma'am.
So the motion is now to accept the agenda with the addition of item 2? Or?
No.
Let's go back. So with the regular agenda, we are removing item 12 at the applicant's request. We are adding the censure request from Councilman Gutierrez, and then we're adding item, I guess that would be item 14, which would be the sound equipment.
Okay. So
Alright.
does that motion need to be restated?
I just did.
Okay, so I'll say so moved.
Thank you. Is there a second? All right, Councilwoman Wells, is there any discussion? Ms. Rainey?
Councilmember James.
Yes.
Councilmember Gunn.
Yes.
Councilmember Gutierrez.
Yes.
Councilmember Akins Wells.
Yes.
Councilmember Mears.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, thank you. We did consent agenda. Council discussion regarding the allocation and use of funds for each line item within the ward, including the establishment of a monthly reporting process, as well as clarification on the accounting and tracking of donations received. Background and history. Councilwoman James requested a discussion regarding the use of funds allocated to each line item within each ward. Additionally, she inquired about the process for how donations are received and accounted for within the city's financial system. Would you like to take the floor?
Okay, so this actually just comes about just wanting to get true accountability of what funds are available to us as council members. I had a situation where I wanted to know what my line item balance was, and there were some discrepancies. So I think that it would be better if we could have a monthly report where we know on a monthly basis what we are using. And also, if we get any donations, we need to know, though, I understand that donations right now go into the general fund, I believe. But to have some way of notating when donations come in. There was an example, for example, when I had my Teacher of the Year celebration, I did receive donations to pay for the food because I know that ward money cannot be used for events such as that. But it was taken out of my line item and the amount did not show up as a donation. So I just wanted to make sure that we get some clarity moving forward in that.
Okay, any other questions or comments? Councilwoman Gunn? Councilwoman Gunn, did you, questions or comments? Councilman Gutierrez?
Just how would what would this look like, Councilwoman? Like, it's gonna be a report, like, am I gonna get a report of everybody, or is yours like
Mr. Clark?
oh.
Okay.
So today we met with staff and we have a report. Mr. Virgil, if you could pull up the report for the individual council people to see. I've also asked our senior staff accountant to attend tonight to talk on the back end of how we're going to handle those donations, or sponsorships. And so what we're going to do is we pull up Ward 1, and all of this is just a template to see if it meets your needs. So of course, there are 4 major line items that represent each of your respective budgets within the legislative department, and that's meetings, projects, events, and capital. And so each month, each of you will receive this report that breaks everything down. It shows what your adopted budget is, what your monthly totals are, what your year-to-date totals are, as well as the available budget. And we're taking it a step further. We're going to ensure that if the P card is used, because of how our system processes that the council aides are providing a breakdown so that you can see itemized as to what you have going in and coming out of your account. I know that we had this happen with Ward 1, as well as I believe it was Ward 4, because those are the two that really get a lot of sponsorships for the various events. But we feel this monthly report will allow you to track better, or staff to track better, what your expenditures are, so that you know in real times monthly what these numbers look like. I'll let Ms. Robinson or someone from the finance team talk about how we're going to handle the sponsorship. Ms. Robinson handles all of the journal entries as well as our reconciliation of our bank accounts in our finance department.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Mr. Virgil, could you scroll down to the bottom? So right at the bottom there, I indicated that amounts entered as debits are your expenditures. The amounts entered as credits represent donations or sponsorships that increase the available budget. And we will work with the council aide. I prepared by Mr. Henry on there. We'll work with him to understand and reconcile back to the financial report. So what you're getting will agree with the financial statements. And any donations and sponsorships that come in will be recorded in the general ledger according to GAAP. And we'll amend the budget also for those contributions.
Madam Mayor.
Yes, ma'am.
So in addition to thank you for that. In addition to that, I also want to get some clarity on the use of ward funds, because at this point, I understand that there is proposed ward funds to be used for a banquet. And I understood that from a long time ago that that was not something that city funds could be used for. So I wanted to get some clarity on that as well.
Yes, ma'am. So I'll let I'll defer to Attorney Matricardi for the legal interpretation. We was able to find a document that establishes some form of guidance for the proper use of ward funds that we have to clean up, because we're not certain if this body ever adopted that document or if it was just something that legal counsel at that time had. But I'll defer to Attorney Matricardi to address proper use of ward funds.
Award funds should only be used for things that are in relation to your official duties as council members. They can be used for events, but they should be it should be like a co-host or a sponsored, not just a sponsoring some private event. It needs to be related to the city. So if there was anything related to your official duties as council, whether you're having well, obviously nothing campaign related as well, but whether you're traveling, whether you're attending a conference, whether you're installing park benches, things like that. And it can't be used for any donation purposes because you have to receive a substantial benefit in return for the expenditure of those funds. So you wouldn't be able to, donate $100 to the Humane Society. Although there might be a noble cause, it's taxpayer funds. And so any gifts or gratuities are actually, it's a violation of the state constitution. So it's just, as long as there's a substantial benefit in return, then you can use the funds for an event that might be a private event, but there's a substantial benefit in return for that. So I'm trying to think of an example on the top of my head of like an event that would work for.
Can we use what we were discussing as far as the banquet? Because I think I have donated for a banquet for Dr. Falami and her team, and I feel like that's benefiting the community because that's benefiting the kids of the community. And honestly, she shouldn't even have to do that. No coach should have to come to council members to donate something to have a banquet. That should already come out of Parks and Rec. So that's a whole nother discussion. But I've done it, but I think Councilman Gutierrez is trying to do it this time.
I'm doing it this time.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
And so, Madam,
Yes, ma'am.
so I think the best thing is to have clarity at the end of the day.
Mhm.
Especially persons such as myself coming in, knowing what and what not to do.
Right.
At the end of the day, a breakdown. So the four areas that are allotted to us, a breakdown of what can and what cannot be done. Now, I heard Councilmember James ask a question about banquets. With me coming in to sponsor the winning team for Forest Park this year, who happens to be coached by Dr. Lawanda Falami, is that a discrepancy? Because I'm hearing banquet now, but these kids are part of the recreation center. They come in, they bring people into this city, parents support them. So I just give me some clarity.
Is it a city event? Is it a city event?
It is it would be celebrating the victory of those young girls who play for Forest Park Recreation Center volleyball.
And it's
It's an annual event that they do every year.
It's in a city building with our look,
thing in
yeah.
the city.
Yes.
That would be permissible as if it's in relation to recreation. I would
Ask
need,
this question. I was under the assumption that when you have kids in rec ball, that the leagues or the system or not the system, they handle that, not the elected officials having to do it. When I played
When you say
T-ball,
they, who you talking about who you talking?
registration fees and.
yeah, like
Yeah,
it
that's
goes
why I'm-
towards
That's what it should be.
events.
But for the last 3 years, it hasn't. And so I don't think parents or coaches should have to come to the council to request funds. That's something, if I'm signing, I'm paying my money, I'm living in the city of Forest Park for my child to play, the kids should be celebrated. If they're bringing championships or their parents are putting funds into the city, then this shouldn't even be on the agenda. This shouldn't even be a discussion. It should be automatic that they have a banquet. Whether they win, lose, or draw, they should have a banquet. So we shouldn't even be in this situation. But the fact that we want to give and help the kids of Forest Park, who we serve, I don't think anything's wrong with that.
So point of order, Madam Mayor.
You could state your point.
So the thing is with recreation ball, because my kids went through recreation ball as well, it's not just Forest Park kids that play. They play from all over the county and even in some other counties. And every year, the fees that the students pay or the kids pay to be a part of the recreation center is used for banquets and things of that nature. And anything above that, the parents would donate towards. So I think that for us to use taxpayer funds for every coach that comes to us to say, can you give me some money for a banquet, would be a misuse of funds. Yes, we can technically put the name of a city event on it, just willy-nilly, but I don't think that's appropriate. And based upon what I was told in the beginning, that's something that we should not do. And that's one of the reasons why I purposely go get sponsors for any outside things that I'm doing. Even though I'm a council person, I don't use the taxpayer money to do that. So I think that's a very gray area and that we should stay away from it.
Mayor,
May I?
Yes, ma'am.
go ahead.
So we have children that live in this community. I understand what you're saying. We pulling other citizens from other potential cities, but I just don't. You guys got to show it to me in black and white. Number one. Number two. The word inappropriate to celebrate these children that utilize our facility, that brings in traffic, that possibly go down the street and get some gas coming and going. So it's beneficial on so many different levels, because somebody gonna be hungry and they're gonna stop over there to Chick-fil-A and get some. So it's very conducive when these games are going on, and they just, I mean, the money flows around from what I'm seeing, and being a parent that did support her sons playing rec ball. I don't see the inappropriate when it comes to the children at the park and recreation. I can see inappropriate, somebody taking that P card and going and gassing up their tank or something. That would be inappropriate. I just don't, y'all help me out now. Help me out and make sure make sure you correct me, okay? But to say that it is inappropriate to celebrate the children.
It's inappropriate to use taxpayer fund for that. Taxpayers. What I'm saying is taxpayer money, and Attorney Matthew Carter, you can speak to this better
She
than I
did. She
can.
said it's not inappropriate.
No, well, yeah, if you put the name city on it,
It
you
is
can make.
city. We ain't in Roswell.
Okay, whatever.
We ain't
Yeah, okay.
going tomorrow. We ain't doing
Councilwoman
anything.
Dunn, let her finish her point, please.
It's in the city of Forest Park. We're utilizing one of the buildings, whether it's 695, whether it's over here, or if we, what is it?
696.
696, I stand corrected.
Got it.
Whether it's over at the senior center, even if we throw it in the park and put up some benches and serve some hot dogs, how is that inappropriate when it's in the city? We're celebrating them on a win. We're encouraging parents to come in and trust Forest Park to be a viable place for their children to come in and have a safe place to grow and be productive and to move on to the next phase potentially of all their potentials when it comes to athletic programs or whatever else we have. I just don't, I don't see how it can be stated that it's inappropriate to celebrate these children. We celebrating everybody else.
Councilman Gutierrez.
Yeah, thank you. I think what was the phrase you used about it has to be substantially beneficial for the city?
So a substantial benefit if
Substantial benefit in
But-
return. So that's open to interpretation of
It
whatever
is.
sees it. So, and investing in our children, I think, is a substantial benefit for our city, especially if we're hosting in our own building. It's hosted at our rec. They're the champions of Forest Park. They're not the champions of Roswell, like you said. So, I don't know why we're having this discussion. I understand maybe Councilwoman James, you want to set the future up for the, procedural aspect of it. And I hope that's it. And then not like a problem with, who the coach is or the children of our park or what. I'm lost with this one. But I think that, we have to celebrate our children. The medium household income is, I think, 30,000 here in 2000. Like, I can't expect my parents, these aren't, millionaires that can put us together. And we're not talking about thousands of dollars. This is not even, I'm pretty sure we're not even breaking $1,000. Like, this is an exaggeration with the food and the celebration of these children and these ladies. So, I mean, I'm okay with this. I don't know. I don't know how y'all feel about this. I understand maybe Councilwoman James, we're trying to set up the president for the future with other things, but I don't see your point with this specific event.
Yes, ma'am.
So the point is, we have a recreation and leisure department. We are the governing body of the city of Forest Park. We have specific allocations that we can use funds for that were identified. So if I don't know how many coaches we have in the city of Forest Park, but if every coach comes to a council person and says, donate here, donate there, it's inappropriate because we have a recreation and leisure department. If we wanted to put something in place as elected officials for our recreation and leisure department to do more than what they already do, then we as elected officials can do that. But for individual people to come to governing body members to say, use your funds for this, it is inappropriate. I'm not saying it's inappropriate to celebrate our kids. That is the furthest thing from what I would say. I'm saying as a city elected official with duties of policy making and being fiduciary of the taxpayer monies, that is my point.
Okay.
Councilwoman Wells.
This just crazy to be even having this conversation. But I just want to know what's the difference in using our employees to come and benefit something that you're having at the school. The taxpayers are paying them to be at work, but they at Forest Park High School on the city's time helping with an event. So what's the difference between those two? Also, it's not every coach coming to us asking us to donate or telling us to donate. So if they come, they're asking, and we have an option. a choice to say yes or no. So if we choose to do that with our funds and listening to the attorney, because all this should have been stopped when the attorney spoke and said nothing was wrong with it. We can do what we want. And I think it's a council member trying to control how we allocate our funds. You were elected to represent Ward 1. We all were elected to represent our different wards, and if it aligns with the law, then it's okay. You have an issue with it, and I understand your concern, but I don't think it's a concern that you need to have when it comes to the children of Forest Park. And like you said, all of them don't live in Forest Park, but they put their money here. They put their time here, and these coaches volunteer. So the least we can do is help. We're just assisting. Same thing the city employees and officers and everybody else doing when they come to Forest Park and help you with an event. They're assisting. And so I don't see a problem with that.
Councilman Mears?
Well, I got mixed emotions about this. I coached here 15 years, 2 or 3 kids, and all we got when we started was a pair of pants and a top. We had to buy socks, hats, everything like that, and that come out of the parents' pocket. If we had a banquet, that come out of the parents' pocket. Now, I got mixed emotion. How much are we charging to play? Are they playing for free? Or is there a entry fee that's supposed to cover all this stuff? Or are they just giving it to everybody?
Ms. Mayor Butler, respectfully, our Deputy Director of Recreation and Leisure is here who can speak on what those fees are that the kids are paying.
And while she's
And
coming
then pay
up,
where it goes?
Well, I mean,
Is it detailed when they pay?
Revenue, it's a revenue coming in. I have staff pulling those numbers now.
right, and if, I'm sorry, hi, Miss Abbott, but one last thing, if we don't have it, we're the governing body. We can put that in place. We can allocate funds so that they don't have to come to the council members to host a banquet for children who parents are investing in our city.
Good evening.
Good evening.
The fees for the kids are between $70 and $90. It's according based on whether they're residents of Forest Park or not, or whether they pay early or late. As far as the banquets are concerned, we used to offer banquets for the parents and the kids. Sometimes, most of the parents, what we was able to give wasn't what they wanted. They wanted more. So now we put them in a position where we offer them the facilities to use, and they purchase pay for the banquets themselves.
Any other questions or comments? Yes, ma'am.
To what City Council Wells stated. Let's just throw some money over to the Park and Recreation to at the end of these games, have that money set up for them where they can have that banquet.
Yes, ma'am. And I think what I hear Deputy Director Abby saying is that there used to be funds for those banquets. However, when Recreation and Leisure put those banquets together, it wasn't what the teams wanted. And so what we probably can do is go back to the drawing board and define, this is a standard banquet that we will provide for the teams collectively based upon the revenues that are coming in, that $70 to $90 that Ms. Abby spoke about, and leverage those funds to put together some type of a banquet standard. And anything over and beyond that, then it would be the responsibility of the team. Is that what I hear you saying, Ms. Abby?
Yes.
And Ms. Abby has been there for
31 years next.
Thank you, Ms. Abby.
Oh, that's awesome.
And
Madam Mayor?
oh,
Yes, ma'am.
But still, we say we put this together, give them a budget, right? We still, as city council members, we still will have that right if we choose to support with that banquet.
yes, according to the attorney.
Okay,
So anything that city funds can be used for, that the same thing applies to the ward funds. So if it's a typical service that the city would provide, then you can use your ward funds for that service.
The only thing I ask, is that we be consistent, and not to throw you up under the bus, Mr. Clark, but we're questioning giving money for kids to celebrate a banquet. But there are other things that money is spent on throughout the city that shouldn't be spent on. You know, if we're not questioning that, we definitely should be questioning a banquet for kids. And I'm gonna use this as an example. And it's probably staff. I don't know how they did. I don't know if the city funds were used or not. But Mr. Clark had a 2-year celebration. Where did those funds come from? How is that benefiting the city? So if we're gonna talk about it, let's talk about it. Let's be consistent. And I'm just using it as an example.
Absolutely.
Not,
I'm-
I'm just
And I'm
saying.
glad to provide an answer. So, Mr. Clark, I'm assuming that she's talking about the surprise that employees had to celebrate me. The celebration that Mr. Clark had was at 100 days. And within 3 weeks, Mr. Clark raised $25,000 to pay for said celebration so that city funds were not expended for that event. And you do have a valid point, Councilwoman Wells. We do want to make certain that our funds are being used in the appropriate way. And that's why I stated earlier, if there is a standard for a banquet that we are having for the kids or for the winners of the season, I'm fine with that because there is a revenue source. But anytime Mr. Clark does an event, more than likely Mr. Clark is going to try to get sponsorships because I believe that the residents of this community deserve, for all of their hard work and all of their trials, that individuals, especially those that make money here, should pay in towards the event.
The $25,000, what, you say you raised that for what?
Absolutely. It was for 100 days in office.
That's not what I was referring to.
So for
I
the
was using
2-year
an
celebration,
example.
oh, okay. For the 2-year celebration, I guess we're referring to the cake that the employee surprised me with. I would assume that whatever amount of money they paid, it was to show their gratitude for the service that I've given the city in those 2 years.
I think,
Again, I was just
yeah,
making an
you don't need to
example.
get
It ain't
defensive,
business.
city manager. This is not just.
He's not getting
Yeah, it's an
defensive, and
example.
Councilwoman James,
Yeah, he is.
Councilwoman Wells was
But
speaking.
then it was a, oh,
Yes, I'm gonna let you.
let me say this for a minute before you go. I was using that as an example, so to raise I'm glad you raised $25,000. I wish the city can see some of that money. But like I said, I was just using it as an example. All of the other things that go on, all of the food purchases and that's not benefiting the city. So if we're gonna talk about it, let's be consistent. That's all I'm saying. So I'm sorry if you got offended, but yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Yes.
I want to address this because we can move on. I have a great sponsor. We are only asking to use the facility. We have at least 9 coaches that come and volunteer freely. When it come collected, you heard from the deputy director, I assume that's her position, about how we collectively over the years put all the recreation leisure program together and do one banquet. What I'm doing for the last 3 years, I do an overall banquet for those who participate in volleyball. And we're saying that
Yeah, you're gonna have to tone it down.
several of you all had great points to draw those constituents in. They stop and get gas, they stop and get a burger, whatever. But when it go back and forth like this, because my name seemed to be in this, I am the championship. You can't take that for the last 2 years. I am a citizen here. I am a concerned citizen here. And I have my girls here and their parents here. So I ask you all to move forward. We got it. We have it. If you all can't come to a little revolution, don't worry about it. We got it. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Oh.
And, and to that point, the item on the agenda that was being discussed was not specifically about the volleyball event. And that just came out as a result of this. I just wanted to make that known. And so I don't know the direction of the vote or how the motion is going to read, but it was not specifically about the volleyball, banquet. Item 5, council,
I'm
yes,
sorry.
ma'am.
While we're discussing that, I want to make sure we add to the agenda to recognize them. I don't want her to speak and have to use her 3 minutes to speak on what these kids bring to our community and what they've done. So I want to add that to the agenda.
When we get to the regular meeting.
Okay.
Item 5, council discussion on the upcoming Splast. Oh, wait, I'm sorry. Before we get there, Attorney Matricardi, what was your final answer?
So it would be permissible because it is a city, it's essentially a city event because it's a city recreational league. And it's typically what funds could be used. The city that would be a legal expenditure for the city. And so then it would be a legal expenditure for city council as well.
Okay.
And do you feel that this body should, at a minimum, review the documentation that we have on record that was provided to see if that's something that they've seen before, and at a minimum to update it? I think the issue is they just want to know if they are requesting to use funds for X, that it is a justified legal expense and it doesn't
Right.
to the gratuity.
So I'd be happy to update the document that was provided by the previous legal counsel and turn it into a formal ward funds policy. Several other jurisdictions have discretionary funds policies where it kind of outlines permissible uses and impermissible uses of the funds. The thing is, it's not black and white. It's a case by case basis. So each time, if there is a question, then just ask. You can ask me about it, and I'm happy to provide an answer. But we could have an official policy that council could abide by, if that would.
Thank you. Item 5, council discussion on the upcoming Splast funding on city projects. Background and history. Councilwoman James requested a discussion on the upcoming Splast funding for city projects. She inquired whether the city has submitted proposed projects to the county for voter consideration and asked for a breakdown of the remaining Splast funds, including the total amount left to spend and how those funds are planned to be allocated. You have the floor, ma'am.
So I defer to city manager. You provided us with a capital projects report. Do you want to go into it, or you want?
Yes, ma'am. So I'm not sure how far back you want to go. So we've pulled records from 2008, I think, is what we currently have on the books, right, Ms. Robinson? 2008 is the latest Splast that we have. And of course, those are based upon actual itemized listings of projects that were submitted. I'll have you know, Clayton County does have talk around a Splast coming out this year. We're still working on some final details from them to begin developing our listing for this year. But my suggestion would be, instead of making it specific, keep it general. Instead of saying a particular road, say roads and streets. That way, as we continue to work on LMIG projects and other fundings that we have, you're not restricted to only those projects on the street. And so I had our finance team pull the numbers today, and for the 2008 Splast, I believe, if I am reading this correctly, that our total fund balance for the 2008 is 1.4 million. For the 2015 Splast, the budget balance is 4.7 million. And for the 2021 Splast, the fund balance is 14.3 million. Now, keep in mind, a large amount of the projects that are qualified within the capital projects report that I distributed to each of you, this was the same thing that I provided at the retreat. A large amount of those funds were for these projects that have been on the books for a number of years. So some of the sidewalks, I know that we were able to do, I believe it's Pine Tree. We were able to do some of the projects on the list, but it's a work in progress.
So question,
Yes, ma'am.
I know that there is, I understand from the last time I asked this question that there is a time limit where the splash funds has to be used. So the 2008 splash, we have 1.4 left. What is the timeline, Attorney Matricardi, that we have to use those funds?
So it's contractual, and it would be, I would need to look at the intergovernmental agreement with Clayton County to see specifically. I know in particular for the 2021 agreement, they need to be used or obligated within 5 years of the Splast expiration.
Mhm.
So it would be almost 10 years since. So if that was the same, then it would have been 2018 for the 2008, but I don't know if those are already contracts that have been agreed to that just haven't been fulfilled yet.
So another question, in addition to the information you provided, Mr. Clark, with the outline of the splash that is used for certain projects that you have identified on this sheet, can we get specifically which splash is being used for those funds. Just so it kind of gives us an idea of where we are with the use of these funds.
Absolutely. So I'm looking now at the 2008 Splast list, and it appears the only council person it doesn't have a name of the end. Ms. Wells, was you here in 2008? Or Mr. Mears?
No.
So even on this list, some of the projects that are happening now is on this list. So like Main Street, the streetscape project, the City Hall expansion is on here. The purchase and acquisition of vehicles is on here. The transportation projects relative to road improvements, all of that is on here. And so what happened is there were some specifics, but there were also some general terms used. But what I can do is provide you those respective three referendums in those SPLOST lists, and you can correlate it because it crosses over more than one splash year.
Right. So I think it would be a good idea then when we know the actual splash is have been fully expensed. I'll just use an example. Back when I first was on the council, Ms. Redding did some updates to Star Park, the big fence. I don't know if y'all remember the big concrete wall that used to be around Kiwanis stadiums. That was used. Splash funds was used for that. But then she also found that there were some items or projects that was being done that was not allocated for Splash, and she corrected that. And so I would want to make sure, number one, we're expending the Splash as it was voted on, and it's done, and we don't keep continuing on with a list of money still available that we're not using and spending up appropriately.
Yes, ma'am. So now I understand clearer. So every year when our annual audit is published, one of the schedules within that 300 page plus document is a schedule that shows the actual SPLOST list, what was budgeted, and what has been expended. And I actually have that documentation, and I'll provide it to you. And while some of these projects range back to 2008, let's just talk about the city center. You know, that money will be gone as soon as that project starts, you know, because we know it's not even enough for the completion of the facility, not with that one source. But I do have that information that's published within those audits that speaks to where we are. So the other one is Linda Way. I know that Linda Way has been talked about for a number of years. We are finally at a point now where I believe we have 3 to 5 remaining parcels that just have to be condemned because the property owners are not participating with us trying to acquire them. Once that is done, all of the other work is already complete. So the project will be ready to be bid and let. Matter of fact, I think we bid Linda Way already, didn't we? So it's Linda Way, and then there's one other street that we've proceeded with bidding. I can't remember the name of that road. Waldrop. That's another one that we were told has been on the books for a long time.
And then my final thing, and I'm sorry. Go ahead. You want to go, Councilman Gunn?
Does everybody out there know when they're saying the word SPLOT? Do you understand what SPLOT?
Special
Loss.
purpose local option tax.
Okay, you guys
It's
help us. I got it,
Yeah.
but I don't know if they got it. You understand what I'm saying? We're throwing, the acronyms out. So let's make sure everybody understands what we're talking about.
It's a penny tax. It's a sales tax. So if you look at a receipt, you'll see it. You'll see the signs where your SPLOST dollars at work. So that's what we're talking about. And I did just pull it up. So it's 10 years after the expiration of SPLOST, not 5. So I was incorrect about that.
Councilwoman James, is there something
So
else?
the final question I would ask is Scott Boulevard Park, and also to know if we as a council will be able to let you know, Mr. Clark, what we would like to the voters to vote on as far as the upcoming splash. I don't know if we're gonna be involved in that legislative process or not.
Yes, ma'am, you have to because this governing body has to adopt the list.
Okay.
One of the beauties of the Splast that dated back, I believe it was either the 15 Splast or the 2008 Splast, it's not restrictive to specific roads. And what happens is you just never know what you may encounter or what emergency you may have where a road needs to be repaved, and that's just separate funds. But we do plan on, I'm not sure how the governing body has handled this in the past, because I believe the last time would have been 2014. I'm sorry, it would have been 2020 would have been the last time you all discussed developing the list for 2021. But certainly we plan on soliciting input from the governing body as to what items, based upon our recommendation, should be on that Splast list.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, yes, ma'am.
So, question, so, our council told us there's an expiration date, up to 10 years, right? So what happens if the money is not spent?
Technically, you're supposed to return it if it is not obligated. And our argument would be our money is obligated.
But so return it, meaning it would go back to the county and be used to reduce any of their outstanding debts.
Yeah.
And if there's no outstanding debts, then it would go to the general fund.
But if I also understand, we can request an extension,
Yes, yes.
and I think that had been done.
Oh, well, that would explain
Yeah, that would be
2008.
prior.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Councilman Gutierrez,
Oh, nothing, thank you.
Councilwoman Wells,
No.
Councilman Mears.
So,
Where are we?
Mayor Butler, before we move on, is there any action, is there any direction that you're looking for from staff, or is it just to participate in whatever that process is in developing the list? And I would lean on the historical information from the individuals that have sat on this council, how you all have done it in the past.
Yeah, I would just want to, want us to be involved in the process of, excuse me, of what's on the list. I believe I've received a text from someone in the legislative team. They were talking about, they were in talks about the splash and what was going to be on the referendum. And I didn't know we hadn't talked about it. So.
Yes, ma'am. They haven't decided, or they have not put out an actual date that they're going to convene these meetings. And so we'll know their timetable because it has to be on a referendum issued by the county. But the actual Splast list has to be adopted, and the requisite resolution has to be adopted by this body.
Let's see. Item 6, council discussion on the boards and commissions application. Background and history. The mayor and council of the city of Forest Park are committed to increasing civic engagement and transparency in the appointment process for city boards and commissions. The governing body would like to mimic the city of Snellville's format to enhance the application process and better capture applicants' qualifications and interests. This updated application includes a brief biography section allowing applicants to share more about their background, experience, and interest in public service. The information provided will assist the mayor and council in identifying qualified, community-minded individuals willing to serve and contribute to the city's growth and development. Boards and commissions serve as advisory bodies and provide critical recommendations to the governing body on planning, development, parks, zoning, economic growth, and other community needs. Appointments are made based on experience, qualifications, and the city's current priorities. Applicants must be a resident of the city of Forest Park unless otherwise specified, submit a completed application along with a brief biography, be willing to attend meetings regularly and participate in board-related activities, does not currently hold a position that would present a conflict of interest. We welcome applicants from all backgrounds who are passionate about public service and wish to help shape the future of our city. Councilwoman James, I think this was not.
Councilwoman, I believe.
Councilwoman Gunn.
You have the floor, ma'am.
To our attorney, thank you so much for responding so quickly. We were discussing bringing 2 persons on board to the URA board, and the application that we had was just it didn't provide enough depth to really go in and vet out persons for the position. So I want to say thank you so much. Thank you to our city clerks who put this together. Very well written. And And I'm happy about this. Thank you, city manager. I talked to you earlier today. And so I hope to see this as soon as possible for the application to be the new application to be implemented.
Okay, so you
Thank
saw.
you so. I have not seen it as of yet. Mhm.
All right, while she's doing that, Councilman Gutierrez.
So we're just fixing the application, or is this a new, are we changing requirements, or we're just updating the application process? Because
Yes, this is just updating the application.
It's just updating the application and it's asking for more detailed information about each applicant so we can better understand what their qualifications are.
what would be a conflict of interest, Attorney McCarty?
Conflict of interest is, that would be, I can't come up with that on the top of my head. That's a case by case basis. But anyone could submit an application. It would just be upon review whether or not there's a conflict of interest that exists. So if there was a existing arrangement with the city, or if they're a vendor and then they get appointed, or after it's case by case, so I wouldn't be able to say it.
Like an employee is not able to serve, right?
Exactly. So like that would be a conflict if it was a city employee. Also city council, so you can only sit on one, for one board. There's certain boards that allow for elected members, and then certain boards that do not. So for instance, a city council member could not sit on the beautification committee. So things, that's another example.
Thank you.
Councilwoman Wells,
No, thanks.
Councilman Mears, Councilwoman James.
No.
Was it fine for us to just update the application as presented on the website digitally, so it reflects the same information?
Yes. Yes.
Item 7, council discussion on the appointment to the Urban Redevelopment Agency. Background and history. The Urban Redevelopment Agency, or URA, is the City of Forest Park, is a public body, corporate, and politic, yeah.
It's a
Political
legal
subdivision established under the provisions of the Georgia Urban Redevelopment Law, OCGA 36-61-2. The mayor and city council created the agency to address blight conditions, stimulate economic development, and promote reinvestment in targeted areas of the city. The City of Forest Park is currently accepting applications to fill a vacancy on the URA board due to a resignation. The appointment will serve the remainder of the unexpired term, which ends March 14th, 2028. Interested applicants should be committed to community development and economic revitalization and must be willing to attend regular meetings and actively participate in agency matters. And so this just says executive offices.
We're gonna
Go in that executive session, okay? Item 8, council discussion on task order PPI 2025.01A for Precision Planning, Inc. to provide construction documents and permitting services for the new city center. Background and history. The city has secured a contract with Carroll Daniel Construction for construction manager at risk for construction of the city center building, City Hall, the city municipal court, police headquarters, and a recreational facility. Precision Planning is providing design development services and will coordinate with the construction manager at risk during the pre-construction phase for the new city center building that will be approximately 200,000 square feet, including structured parking. Additionally, Precision will provide construction documents and permitting services and will coordinate with the construction manager at risk during the pre-construction phase per the scope of services outlined in the task order. Once the documents are finalized and a guaranteed maximum price is approved, a separate task order proposal will be requested and issued for construction contract administration services. The total not to exceed $2,209,500, with the reimbursable expenses not to exceed $18,000. The total not to exceed is $2,227,500. And this is deriving from Splast 2021 bonds. Good evening.
Yes, good evening, Mayor, Council, and City Manager. This is a task order being presented to you regarding the new City Center project that is underway. We are in the pre-construction phase. And so PPI is the awarded contractor that the city has to provide A&E services. And they did create the design for this project. And so this task order will allow them once we break ground, to be able to provide construction documents, advisement, and also advisement with permitting services as well.
All right, thank you. Councilwoman James?
No question.
Councilwoman Gunn?
None.
Councilman Gutierrez?
Thank you.
Councilwoman Wells? And Councilman Mears? All right, thank you. Council discussion on the proposed fiscal year 25-26 budget. This is the first public hearing. Background and history. The proposed funded dollar amount for the fiscal year 25-26 budget is 43 million 43 million dollars. The budget meticulously allocates resources across various city priorities and programs. These allocations are made with the intent to enhance public safety, improve infrastructure, promote economic development, and provide essential services. From maintaining our parks and recreation facilities to supporting educational programs and ensuring the upkeep of our streets and utilities, the budget is designed to meet the diverse needs of our community. The city manager will present a complete overview of the proposed budget. The first public hearing will be at our meeting tonight at 7. The second will be at a special call meeting on June 16th at 5. And then the third public hearing, which will be designed for adoption, will be at the June 16th, 7 p.m. meeting. All right, Mr. Clark.
Yes, ma'am. Members of the governing body, we are sincerely excited about the unwavering commitment that each of you have shown for the proposed budget for fiscal year 25 and 26. Again, as I stated in the retreat, this document represents far more than just our financial plan. In fact, it's a reaffirmation of our shared values, a roadmap for continued progress, and a statement of the confidence in our city's future, even amid ongoing uncertainty. This budget reflects the work of a city that is disciplined, forward-thinking, and people-centered, crafted during a time of economic headwinds, including inflation, rising operational costs, and it still manages to protect service levels while advancing our strategic initiatives and investing meaningfully in both our infrastructure and our workforce. We have presented this to you at our retreat, and we're just here tonight to go through the formal process of our public hearings. Again, the budgets for each of the respective departments, we are forecasting that we will receive $43 million in revenues. And you can see that is up a small percentage from last year, largely based upon the inflation that we've seen in our tax base. You can see for fiscal year 24-25, Mr. Virgil, if you go back to the top, we forecasted $34 million in this year based upon increase in property values. We're anticipating about $35 million, a variance of $1.5 million. You can see just based upon the economy and the tariffs and everything else, we were conservative with our numbers relative to licensing and permitting. There's a reduction of about $16,000. Same with our charges for services. Our fines and forfeitures, we all know what those are. Our investment revenues continue to forecast and trend upwards. We are anticipating an additional $134,000 with our investment income. from. Same with our miscellaneous, our intergovernmental. You can see a slight increase in that of $226,000. That's based upon us changing the way that we are modeling some of our revenues, contributions and donations. We put it at 8,400 just based upon a trend analysis of what we've currently seen in this year. There have been no cuts in personnel across the city. We've talked about the additional positions throughout the city, and we are just open to answer any questions that you may have. This budget includes the recently adopted pension plan, as well as the wage and compensation study that was done by and between this governing body and adopted by this governing body last year. This year's budget, of course, was prepared in a climate marked with global instability, looking at the federal funding cuts that we have experienced, the unpredictability, as well as rising insurance premiums driven by broader markets. Our insurance brokers have confirmed for us that the city of Forest Park is having one of its best years on record in terms of claim management and internal risk mitigation. However, the industry standard look-back period is still impacting our current premiums. This budget takes into account those increases that we are experiencing based upon healthcare, thanks to this governing body for adopting option 3, as well as what we'll bring before you for property, casualty, and loss. Nevertheless, we believe that we are positioned for future savings. This budget encompasses a $300,000 plus contingency budget, as well as one of the things that we're really proud of this budget and a theme is the advancements that we've been able to make for technology, cybersecurity, and infrastructure modernization. Governing body, I'd like to take a moment of personal privilege to really extend my well wishes and thanks to our Director of IT, Mr. Cox, who's done an amazing job of weathering the storms of all of the cyber attacks that are happening around the world. Forest Park has not had its fair share of things happening with our back end of the house system, as well as recognizing the need to modernize our hardware and our software as we move into the next city center. So again, thank you to Director Cox and his team for all of the hard work that they are doing. I believe that as we go through this year, again, I always share, as I learned from one of the great finance directors that I had the pleasure of working with once upon a time, this budget is merely a guide. This budget changes daily as your operational needs change, as well as you realize in real time those revenues that are coming in. But we are still hopefully optimistic because we recognize and believe that our geographic advantage is our location. And we believe that we are a city poised for expansion. And this next budget cycle, based on some of the permitting that has happened, what's happening within that Tri-City corridor from East Point all the way down to Hateville, we really believe that our future is ripe for diversification of our housing portfolio in this city. Our geographic advantage underscores the need for continued infrastructure investments. As you will see throughout this budget cycle, how we are modernizing and improving processes largely within our planning and community development department, because we hear the wishes of our governing body loud and clear and your needs. At its core, this budget is guided by the foundational tenets of our One Forest Park vision, operational efficiency. This budget ensures that we are delivering smarter, faster services through modernization and centralization. So as you hear about these different opportunities for procurement, it's because under the leadership of Ms. Talisa Adams-Clark, we continue to advance as it relates to this centralized procurement process. As it relates to neighborhood sustainability, as we talked about in the retreats, we are experiencing some of the lowest crime numbers in this city's history within the last 5 to 8 years, based upon the efforts of our police department and the fact that our police department for a majority of the year has been fully staffed at levels higher than it has been staffed for a number of years. This allows us to align with our strategic pillars of neighborhood sustainability while we continue to invest in community wellness, continue to ensure that our code enforcement department, through the newly created Beautification Commission, focuses on what proper blight removal and litter education looks like, as well as we're excited that we funded our legacy residents within this community at the highest level we've ever funded them at, and that is $25,000 to ensure that they have wraparound wraparound services within the senior citizens center so that they can get what they need. I'm sure all of you are aware of the various trips that they took within this last budget cycle from Alabama to Tennessee. And we're also happy that within this budget cycle, they will finally see the fruits of their labor and they will have their own vehicle and van to get them around to where they need to go. Thanks to the efforts of this council. As it relates to economic development, the E of these foundational tenets, we are continuing to attract investments, expand opportunity, and build infrastructure that fosters long-term growth. Through the efforts of our Urban Redevelopment Agency, we experienced one of the largest property acquisitions in the history of this city, an acquisition totaling over $13 million, where the average job is merely $115,000. What that means is the city is able to continue to oil its wheels because we have investments and long-term companies coming to invest in our community to help catapult the success of our small businesses, which really makes up the framework for the city of Forest Park. Some of our biggest budget highlights, public safety. So this budget includes investment in body-worn and in-camera cameras, advanced gunshot detection and deception detection systems for integrity-based hiring, and a commitment to retain 95% or better for staffing retention. Again, in our planning and community development department, we've talked for a number of months about the need for this one-stop concierge model within that department, but we're excited that we'll start to see all of that come full circle. Within our HR department, implementing pursuant to House Bill 451, the PTSD initiative, centralizing our background check procedures, as well as expanded professional development citywide. In our recreation and leisure department, there are so many new partnerships that are coming online. I'll mention a few. Enrichment-based summer camps focused on literacy, expanded legacy resident programs, and increased support for all of our public events. One of the things that we're also adding is our body cameras for our code enforcement department, recognizing the need for our code enforcement officers to also have the same level of protection for accountability and transparency purposes. This budget allows them to purchase their own. E911 services, rolling out our rapid SOS system for precise emergency location tracking within our municipal court, budget neutral increases for our municipal judge and solicitor, while ensuring that we are reducing our docket wait times from 3 to 4 months to less than 30 days. And last but certainly not least, renovation of our fleet services facility for the first time in over 10 decades. This budget allows us to redo some of the coming areas within our fleet department that have needed to be updated for a number of years, as well as we are doing a major renovation project over at Fire Station 1, where we are attempting to replace all of the HVAC units within that structure because those units do not accommodate the size of the building. Forest Park is not simply adjacent to active opportunity. We believe we are actively becoming a hub of innovation, culture, and strategic growth. This budget that staff has presented to each of you affirms that trajectory. It reflects that a city is not prepared to meet today's demands, but that we are ready to shape tomorrow's possibilities. So again, thank you, Mayor Butler and the members of this council for your steadfast leadership and partnership, and we look forward to your continued collaboration as we steward this budget and build a future worthy of the people in which we serve each and every day. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman James.
No question.
Councilwoman Gunn.
No question on that. Madam Mayor, can we revisit some? I just have one question to get clarity.
Which item?
Item number 4.
Okay, let's get the other questions on this item and then we'll come back. Councilman Gutierrez?
No, thank you.
Councilwoman Wells?
No.
Councilman Mears?
Oh,
All right, yes, ma'am.
Report.
I'm sorry?
I told them, thank you, that was a good report.
Thank
I
you.
had a question.
Yes, ma'am.
So, the request, Councilwoman James, is we get a report individually, or this report needs to be released to all the governing body here?
I mean, that's up to you all. I just want mine.
Okay,
For the capital projects report?
No, she's talking
Or-
the award funds.
Award funds. So
Item 4, Ricky.
item 4.
Also, my apologies. If we can pull back up the file, each ward will get that same report at the same time every month. It's not just for one council person. We're doing it for each of the respective council people.
Thank you.
Right, I think her question is, will Councilwoman James get one for everyone, or is she just getting it for her?
No, she would get it for her respective ward.
Okay, so each one of us will get one.
Yes, ma'am. Are you saying you want to see all of them?
I need to just worry about my little area.
Yes, ma'am. We were planning on sending each respective council member the information for your ward.
I'm good. Yeah, just.
okay. Thank you. Item 10, budget amendment for the general fund and police special funds. Background and history. The City of Forest Park fiscal year 24-25 operating budget was unanimously adopted by the City Council on June 26, 2024. Before adopting the budget, city staff advised that funding and revenues would continuously be monitored for accuracy and reporting. Staff is recommending that the understated funds be added to the operating budget for general fund, special funds, capital funds, city authorities, and sanitation year-end closure procedure for the annual audit, which will increase and/or decrease the current revenues to amend the increase and/or decrease of expenditures. Once the funds have been added to the operating budget, it is also recommended that the City Council approve a budget amendment to accurately reflect the corrected operating revenue budget amount for the general fund for the fiscal year 24-25.
Good evening, Mayor and Council.
Good evening.
Steve?
I'm here standing before you to ask for you to approve this budget amendment. This budget amendment will help us in our year-end closure. This is part of, because we're in the last month of the fiscal year. So we're in the mode of cleaning up all the accounts and making sure that we are in line when this fiscal year ends. And this is the beginning of one of the budget amendments that I will bring before you to clean up the accounts.
Councilwoman James?
No question.
Councilwoman Gunn?
None.
Councilman Gutierrez?
Thank you, sir.
Councilwoman Wells?
No.
And Councilman Mears. All right, council discussion on the Forest Park Fire and EMS trade and exchange for fire engine 1 aerial. Background and history. The Forest Park Fire and EMS Department is seeking the council's approval to trade in our 2015 Rosenbauer fire engine to Brindley Mountain Fire Apparatus in exchange for parts and labor needed to refurbish our 1998 Engine 195 aerial. The council has already approved for Rosenbauer for inclusion on the city's asset surplus list. Good evening.
All right, good evening, Mayor and Council. Deputy Chief of Logistics has been working closely with Brenda Mountain, and he will do a presentation on this initiative.
Good evening, Mayor,
Good
Council,
evening.
Mr. Clark. As the mayor stated, that we're asking for approval to trade in our 2015 Rosenbauer to Brindley Mountain in exchange for the refurb of our 1998 E1 95-foot aerial. Brindley Mountain is not a stranger to the city. You know, this is you probably haven't heard the name that times, but about a year and a half ago, we contracted with them to replace the pump on on this aerial that we're requesting to have refurbed. What we're looking at is this will consist of no monetary spending at all. This will be an even trade, one truck for the other. And yes, that this 2015, what's going to happen is that they will trade it in for them. This company, they specialize in refurbishment of older fire trucks. And what they do is they bring them back to life. They'll clean them up, paint them, get them back roadworthy, and they'll make them extend their life of them. That's what they're doing. And then they'll end up taking this truck they're willing to trade in, and they'll end up selling it to another department, like a volunteer department or something like that, that doesn't really have the funding at a reduced cost. So it's a win-win on both sides. That what it does for us is it allows us to go over and to take our 1998 aerial and have it go through a refurb. And what that's going to consist of is they'll do a full inspection of the vehicle and repair any kind of deficiencies that they find, any kind of body work, any dents or scratches. They'll take those out. They'll repaint our vehicle back to our new paint scheme and logos as our current trucks. And so we'll continue with a matching fleet. They'll upgrade all the emergency lights to new technology to make DOT compliance LEDs instead of old strobes. And like I said, they'll do an inspection of the ladder or pump and drivetrain and suspension systems that we have on the truck. So what this is doing for the department, doing it for the city, is it's building a level of confidence for the department, for the city, for us to allow the fire department to serve the city and the citizens and the business owners here, to give them, a better piece of apparatus that's more reliable, more modernized, and, basically for us to fully affect, fire suppression, rescues, and things like that. Instead of having just a 1998 vehicle, we will have basically a newer old truck. Now, I'd like to be clear that this is not saying that it will replace a new truck. This truck is still a 1998. And so, but what this will do, it will buy us a little bit of time. And the two things, it'll buy us time and get us a more reliable truck until we can financially afford a new vehicle. And plus, when we do get a new vehicle, it will allow us to step this truck down into a reserve status. So when the new truck goes out for service or something like that, we have another vehicle that's comparable to go into for those operations.
Thank you. Councilwoman James.
No question.
Councilwoman Gunn.
None.
Councilman Gutierrez.
No question, but an idea for a fundraiser could be a calendar of mustaches, because I see that you guys have a solid one. That could be a good fundraiser for y'all.
Councilwoman Wells.
No, thank you.
And Councilman Mears.
Thank you.
All right. That was item 11, right? All right. Added item 12, a motion to censure the mayor. So background and history. There will be a motion that the Forest Park City Council formally censure Mayor Angeline Butler for conduct that falls short of the standards of professionalism, civility, and accountability required of elected officials. Statement of facts. On May 5th, 2025, Mayor Butler issued a veto addressed to the City Council and citizens of Forest Park. The document contained a profane phase of FU directed toward council members and by extension, the public. Such language in an official government communication is both unprofessional and unprecedented. It compromises the dignity of the mayoral office and erodes public confidence in our leadership. When questioned about the statement and at a subsequent public meeting, Mayor Butler affirmed the remark without apology and/or clarification. Basis for the censure. Mayor Butler's conduct violates core principles of the city's code of ethics, including preserving the dignity and integrity of the office, demonstrating professionalism and respect toward others, avoiding profane and offensive language in official communications, acting in a manner that sustains public trust. This behavior, it sets a poor example for how public officials should conduct themselves in service to our community. Now, the council action request. By this motion, the City of Forest Park City Council Formally censures Mayor Angeline Butler, MPA, for her actions on May 5th, 2025, condemns the use of profane and offensive language in municipal communications, calls on all elected officials to uphold the standards of professionalism, civility, and ethical governance that our community expects. And in conclusion, Forest Park residents deserve better leadership grounded in respect and responsibility. This censure affirms our council's commitment to maintaining the integrity of public office and ensuring that professional conduct remains the standard for all elected officials. Councilman Gutierrez?
Thank you, Mayor. I appreciate you reading that because it was pretty long and you're a good reader. Yeah, I just felt I wasn't aware of the message you had in the veto. And I didn't really hear a follow-up from you at all in any type of way. So I just don't deem it appropriate. So I want to just vote on a censure so it's public, it's in writing. You know how I feel about it, and you know I hope you take this time to reflect. I know you stand by your veto, and I respect how you feel about that. But you, as our mayor, I think you're the mayor. Like, I just don't think it's appropriate. You have your own reading club, like for the children. I don't think that, you know, this is not something that, you know, that is appropriate coming from you. I expect a lot more. So that's it. I just want it for the record.
And thank you very much. Councilwoman Wells?
Wait, did they?
I started with
discuss-
him because he made the motion.
Oh, well, then you can start back down there.
You want to wait? Councilman Mears? Councilwoman James?
Well, I won't be voting in favor of the censorship. I think that when I received the veto is generally just whenever a mayor vetoes something, it comes directly to the governing body members. It doesn't go to the public. And the governing body members have an opportunity to get together to overturn the mayor's veto if they choose to overturn it within the second council meeting. When I read the veto, I missed it. The comment because it's, you know, you really have to do crossword puzzles as Councilwoman Gunn explained. But I do understand that there are some other comments and things that our elected official has done before that's way worse than trying to figure out a crossword puzzle. So I would not be voting in favor of this.
Councilwoman Gunn?
This is not about the veto. And you stated that the veto will, normally the mayor would present this in the executive session.
Get the letter, yeah.
And so this was an action that took place publicly. And it's just like when your child going to, now I'm old school, where you act up at is where you go get papped at. And so since the mayor presented this in front of us, and I'm telling you, this was hard. This wasn't an easy thing to do, okay? But
No,
since
okay.
it was done publicly, we addressed it publicly. This is about our conduct as elected officials, being visible, vocal on that camera, on YouTube,
On the news.
good googly moogly to the fifth power and beyond. So it is about character and integrity. I don't care who you are. My mama, your mama, the Pope, again, TD Jakes, whoever. When we stand and we represent this governing body, it's no longer about Dolores, no longer about our Mayor Butler. It is about us representing this city. And so it wasn't done in private. If it was done in private, it was something we could have addressed in private, but it was not. It is about character and integrity again. It's not about this veto. It was what was said publicly. And so I'm gonna continue to stand on that. I wish you guys would make sure that I stay in alignment, hold me accountable. I'm not saying that we are perfect, but there are some things we just know what to do and what not to do. It doesn't take a rocket science. And many of us have been to Bible school, the mayor herself. We know what to do and what not to do. I don't care how you try to dress this up. I don't care how many trophies you got in the closet. I don't care how many certificates you got on the wall. I don't care what degrees you got. There are some things we just do not do. And I'm going to stand on that.
Thank you very much. Councilman Wells?
Yes, I wholeheartedly agree with Councilwoman Gunn and Councilman Gutierrez. At the end of the day, when we're up here, we represent the people. We are the people. And so it doesn't matter if it was me and Councilwoman Gunn did it to me. Everybody want to hold everybody accountable until there's certain individuals. And I think that says a lot about certain people as well. If you're okay with the mayor of Forest Park or any council member or elected official saying F you and a message to us who represent the people, then you're part of the problem too. You're part of the problem too. And so absolutely, you have my support, Councilman Gutierrez.
Item 13, first annual renewal for the sound equipment. What was that, number 2?
I think Councilwoman Wells just had some questions
I
relative.
didn't read it because I didn't read it. It was on the consent agenda. Background and history. The Recreation and Leisure Services Department is looking to execute its first annual renewal option for the sound equipment services contract with Digital World Live under the same prices, terms, and conditions. This vendor will continue to provide sound equipment and technician services for 15 city events. These events include 4 Fun Fridays, Forest Park Day, Hispanic Heritage Celebration, 3 Ultimate Tailgate Experiences, Fall Festival, Summer Soul Fest, and any other festival that is planned by the Recreation and Leisure Services. The annual cost is $77,850.
So I think this item was removed off the consent because Councilwoman Wells wanted us to take a look at rebidding this instead of allowing the annual renewal option that's in the contract.
Yeah.
Ms. Adams, will you talk a little bit about the contract and what would have to happen?
Yes, good evening again. So this is an option for us to renew. The vendor has agreed to renew under the same price terms and conditions. The department is in agreement with that. However, if the council choose to vote not to renew the contract, then we will move forward to putting it back out to bid. And also looking at the cost analysis of buying the equipment that the city would own. However, the additional piece in that is also cost associated with the installation breakdown of this equipment for the various events and being able to secure equipment that is of quality to make sure that the sound is effective for the various types of events that the city currently has. This contract is due to expire the end of this month. So we were coming forward a month ahead to get the renewal executed. We do already have the Juneteenth celebration and a couple of Fun Fridays that's going to be taking place if we cancel the project. If we cancel the contract at the end of June. So that would leave us to have to put it out for 3 quotes individually for those events back to the same vendors that, provided a bid on the contract. I wanted to also include that this vendor is the vendor that had been selected and used since 2020. And when I came on board to centralize the procurement process, it was most advantageous to the city to put this out for bid so that we can be secured in pricing for a specific amount of time period for those services instead of getting one-off quotes from the vendor. And I believe in the past, I don't even know if there were actually 3 quotes or something obtained. I think a vendor was just selected. The rebidding process will take at a minimum 90 days to go through because it will have to be formally put back out on the street for competitive advertising and bidding, and then go through the evaluation process of another award selection.
Thank you. Councilwoman James? Councilwoman Gunn?
$77,000.
15 events. For 15, it's like 5,190 each event for sounds. I divided it.
So when I paid out of my ward for sound equipment, why was I paying out of my ward if we already had a contract with them?
Because this contract was for specifically identified events that is overseen by the Recs Department. And so any additional events from the ward, that's separate from the contract. But the vendor would honor the pricing within the contract for those additional events.
Like when we made the budget, we didn't know about your gospel fest, for example. So that's why.
So anytime the city will have an event, this 77 out of this $77,000, they are required. If we do 15 events, the $77,000 covers 15 events, 20 events, 30 events.
Well,
No.
that's when they start negotiating it. So if we're talking, I think you're referencing the gospel event. Initially, Ms. Wells had sponsors for the entirety of that event, and there was a partner. Ms. Wells decided that it rained out at first, and she decided that she was just going to move the date and still do the event. And so we ended up, I believe, doing the whole thing, and we brought the sound up under the umbrella. I think the difference was that package didn't include backline as we know it. And so that was the different cost, but I think they end up negotiating with that sound engineer, and they got the cost to the same as it would be for those standard events that were procured through this contract.
So at this late day, bringing this here, we got 30 days to make a decision. And if the night, suppose it's just like we just kill the deal. So the upcoming events, now they will be charging us individually, individual contract for the next upcoming events.
The pricing is good on this contract through June 30th. Any events that occur after that date, if we do not renew under the same price terms and conditions, we would have to put it back out on the street, and we would have to get individual quotes per event.
So I have a question, city manager. Why did we so late to come and bring this to the table?
It's not late. So
Days?
the cycle is when this contract was approved in last year, this body adopted it with the provision that there were those automatic renewals because of how arduous the process was. And so what our procurement department has done before the expiration of these contracts, she's signaling that, hey, let's decide, we can put it back on the street and bid it back out. And the risk to doing that, well, it's a pro and a con. We could put it back on the street and bid it out, and the bids that you receive can be higher than what we're receiving. Typically, the industry standard was $79,000 per event. Based
Correct.
upon us having continuity and able to guarantee them 15 events, we get a cheaper cost, right? So we could do it even if the governing body decided that they wanted to put that contract back on the street. But what procurement is saying is the cost, because you're not guaranteeing them a block of events, is just going to be a lot higher.
You good? Hector, Councilman Gutierrez, did you have any down the line?
No, I think when I divided up and just the how the comfort level now that they have, and like you mentioned, they've been here doing that since 2000. I mean, I'm okay whatever the governing body decides to put it out, but I'm also okay with these with these sound people just because of the quality that they bring, and also they're in the business of this, and they potentially, if we re-put it out, we could, yeah, we might get a lower one, but we also might get a higher one.
And on top of that, it's not just the equipment, it's the manpower. It takes a certain amount of staff that they have to provide to service these events during the duration of that event time. Starting with the setup of the equipment prior to the event beginning, during the event, and then the breakdown after the event is over. So that's cost, all of that cost is included in there with them providing the equipment.
Councilman Wells?
So can we also, because if you haven't dealt with them, you know, it's easy to say, how they are. But, I believe in, when I have events or when the city have events, I believe in being very professional and starting on time because the people are looking for you to start on time. This is things that we are promoting to our community. And so, you can't have microphones dying and asking for $80,000 a year for events. You can't have young kids that don't know how to operate the equipment on stage and we're looking for our event to start. And somebody got to run to Family Dollar and get some batteries because the microphones don't work. So if you're not there, you don't see that. And so that's what I'm talking about when I say $80,000 is too much because it's the level of service that you get. If we're going to pay for quality service, then we need to receive quality service. And so that's my issue with that. Even if we do agree to keep them, I would like for it to come to us months in advance and not 30 days before it expires, the contract expires. But we also need to add in the contract that they need to be on time so that our events can be on time because they get paid a lot of money to do that. And so I still want us to look into getting our own equipment and investing in our own city instead of other people's business.
Let me ask this Attorney Matricardi, if this governing body decides to execute or exercise rather this renewal, some of the concerns that Ms. Wells has brought up, I don't know that I know that. Is it something we can review within the actual contract to put specific language relative to these concerts and what should happen? If a show starts at 7 o'clock, you ought to be set up and ready to go X. Are there provisions that we can put in there so that if there is a default on the contract and there is an event to where they violate what our terms are, they would be in default of the contract?
Yes, so the current contract has a scope of work that lists the specific events and the time duration. When we're renewing the contract, although it's the same terms, it would also have an updated statement of work that has the new events and times. And so that would be, it wouldn't be necessarily, like, it depends on how late, but it wouldn't necessarily be like a material default, but it could be something that's raised with them. And if it's repeatedly occurring, then it could give rise to a default.
So Councilwoman Wells, if you articulate for me, outside of the issues that you've mentioned today, what those issues are, if it is a pleasure of the governing body to move forward with this contract, we can have a meeting with them. And you have the majority of events. I don't even mind if we have the attorney involved and go that direction, just to make certain that if we are going to renew this, these are the terms and conditions that must be followed. And is there a month-to-month provision?
There is no month-to-month provision.
Okay.
And I just wanted to add in addition that we do have a supplier rating form that is been dispersed to the user departments that's managing these contracts. And so they have been instructed to provide us at least quarterly with those forms on the ratings of how these contractors are performing. So we do take that in account when we're looking to renew the contract as well. But we do have to also afford them an opportunity to cure any services or any, issues that may arise. But procurement has to be aware to know about it in order to initiate that process.
Absolutely. And I think some of it also, I guess this started back in September, which was why they had to give the event in October, is what I'm being told.
Okay.
No. No. You said it started.
It happened in September. That's one of the reasons why the October show was done, because there were issues with the sound.
Oh, yeah.
So, Ms. Wells, we'll get a listing of what those issues are and have a conversation with them. And is there a way to extend this for a period of 3 months, Attorney Matricardi, to get us through the summer months to see if there are issues so that we're not binding ourselves for another year?
You can always ask for just a 3-month extension and see if they will agree to that. It doesn't guarantee that it's gonna be offered at the same price point.
Yeah.
So that's just something to keep in mind.
Yeah, this is for another annual cycle.
Yes.
Yeah.
Councilman Mears? Nope. All right, thank you. Was that the last item? All right, thank you. The work session is adjourned. You guys want to take about 5 minutes or jump right in? Yeah. All right. We're gonna take a 5-minute break before we get into the regular meeting. All right, good evening, everyone. It is 7:50, so the regular meeting for mayor and council for June 2nd is called to order. So tonight's invocation is going to be done by Elder Cook. So all those who are able to stand, please stand and then remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Amen. Let us pray. Heavenly Father, we come before you this evening first just to say thank you. God, we thank you for another day of life and strength, Father God, and allowing us all to get here safely, Father God, and we ask that you allow us to make it back home safely as well, Father. God, we lift up this council to you, God. We lift up the mayor, Father God, and all those who are in authority in this city, Father God. We pray for them now, Father God, asking that you lead them and guide them, Father God. Help them to make right choices, Father God, the choices that align us with your blessings, Father God. And God, I just thank you right now, Lord, for your provision for this city, Father. Lord, we ask that your presence fill this place. God, may your grace and your mercy be here. God, may we continue to move in unity, that your commanded blessing will be upon our city. And God, we just commit every work to you. May it be pleasing in your sight. In Jesus' name, amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Miss Rainey, roll call, please.
Yes. Good evening, Honorable Mayor Butler, council members, and City Manager, Mr. Clark. This is the roll call for the June 2nd, 2025 regular session meeting. Mayor Butler,
Yes, ma'am, present.
Councilmember James,
Present.
Councilmember Gunn,
Present.
Councilmember Gutierrez,
Present.
Councilmember Akins-Wells,
Here.
Councilmember Mears.
Here.
Mayor Butler, you have a quorum.
Okay. So the consent agenda, we already know item 5 was removed from the work session. So is there a motion to adopt tonight's adopt and approve tonight's consent agenda with the removal of item number 5?
So
Adding
moved.
it to the regular meeting.
So moved.
All right, that was Councilwoman James. Is there a second?
Second.
That was Councilwoman Gunn. Is there any discussion? Ms. Rainey, please.
Councilmember James,
Yes.
Councilmember Gunn,
Yes.
Councilmember Gutierrez,
Yes.
Councilmember Akins-Wells,
Yes.
Councilmember Mears.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So tonight's agenda. Is there a motion to accept tonight's agenda with the following changes? We're going to add, is it a presentation from the volleyball? Okay, add a presentation for our volleyball team. We are going to remove at the applicant's request, the rezoning request, which is item 3. We are going to remove items 8 and 9, which did not require action. We are going to add the censure, and then we are going to add the sound equipment, which would have been item 5 on the consent agenda.
Madam Mayor, I have one other item I would
Oh.
like to add.
Yes, ma'am.
I would like to add the approval of Technique Concrete for the bid that we tabled a couple meetings ago. I don't know exactly what the statement would be. Ms. Clark.
And that was what, for the grapevine?
Yes, the grapevine.
Okay, Attorney McCarty, when it gets to that point, can you send me the verbiage? I don't remember how it was worded back.
Point, Mayor, I spoke today to asked actually the city manager about it, and he said, are you ready to propose that, or are we still waiting on you?
So I've asked our procurement manager to provide me some information. The only thing the city council would be approving is if we are using city funds in its entirety to fund the build out of the grapevine, right? Our plan has always been to leverage those funds within some of those authorities that are statutorily, they are for revitalization and redevelopment to offset the cost of this build out. And so if by Councilwoman James' motion, if you're requesting that the city council is going to fund 2.8 million, then we need to identify the source of funds for the
So-
2.8 million.
I have a question. The initial item that was on the agenda 2 council meetings ago, was it just to approve and, or was it to do the funding by the city?
So the typical pattern for procurements are, once they go through the procurement process, once they're put on the street, the committee meets to go over qualifications and then the requisite money that is discussed, it is put in front of council because council has to approve the contract. In this instance, we were never asking the general fund to pay $2.8 million for the grapevine.
Right, so I'm just understanding, why was it on the agenda in the first place then?
Because it just went through the normal process. But what we're saying is, we're working through the URA, the DDA, because both areas are within their delineated areas, for said funds. Now, if there is a remaining balance, based upon what we do not receive from those other authorities, we're coming back to the city to see if this is something that the city wishes to move forward with based upon the dollar amount that has been proposed.
Okay, so I'll withdraw that item, Madam Mayor.
Okay, that is withdrawn. Okay, I think I got everything. So is there a motion to adopt tonight's agenda with those changes?
So moved.
All right, that was Councilwoman James. Is there a second?
Second.
That was Councilwoman Gunn. Is there any discussion? Ms. Rainey?
Councilmember James?
Yes.
Councilmember Gunn?
Yes.
Councilmember Gutierrez?
Yes.
Councilmember Akins Wells?
Yes.
Councilmember Mears?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, thank you. The approval of the minutes from May 19th has everyone had the opportunity to review the minutes? And if so, are there any changes to be recommended?
I make a motion that we approve the minutes, Madam Mayor.
All right, second? Thank you. Is there any discussion? Ms. Rainey, please.
Councilmember James?
Yes.
Councilmember Gunn?
Yes.
Councilmember Gutierrez?
Yes.
Councilmember Akins Wells?
Yes.
Councilmember Mears?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. We're gonna jump up some and ask Ms. Falami if you wanted to present for the volleyball team.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Ladies, please join me. As most of you know, I've been coaching here voluntarily without any mama or grandma for 21 years. And I take pride in my volunteering coaching. Each of these young ladies you see behind me are scholars. That's why when I address them as scholars. Then I come back and address them as players. When it comes to them behind me, I stand flat for them. We are a collected team. We are in unity. We have won every game except for 2 games out of the 7 matches that we partaken this season. So that is by itself a big round of applause to these young ladies. Not only that, they also maintained a A+ average in their elite school system. That's a round of applause. You're gonna learn that we may have 50 coaches here. I'm different. I was gonna pack this room out just for my girls, but because I'm doing a banquet, I save it for that. But when it comes to the children under my watch, I lead by an example. I let them know that you as the governing body represent them, and when they are not around you, they represent you. So with saying that, I also want to give an accolade to the parents of these young ladies. They are sitting in the room. If you all would stand. And if you see this young lady right here, you all can be seated. This young lady here is only 9 years of age. And the girls behind me are 14 and up. I chose her because she's compatible. She can play with these 14s and up. We had an opportunity to scrimmage with the police department, and I told them, show no mercy. I said, right, Chief? Show no mercy. And they won against our police. I won't be before you long, but I will say to this governor body, to this administration over here, and to the neighbors to my right, you see me, I am them. And as a mother, as a grandmother, when it comes to me and them, if I see they're not being treated fair, my job is to come to you. That brings me when I sat with the city manager and his deputy in reference to some things that was going on. But with that conversation, the solution came. We had a 9-week clinical training that really empowers these young ladies to be compatible when they get ready to excel into their middle school and leave out of the recreation. What I'm doing is not in vain. What I'm going to do with you or without you, I'm going to make sure they okay. I promise you that. I will make sure they okay. And saying that, some of these people to my right, they sponsor me, they give me donation. I ain't gonna point them out, but they donate. So we are okay. And I thank you, Governor Body, for allowing me to recognize my scholars, players, along with the parents who participate here in Forest Park, and to the parents, everybody not mean spirit. We okay. And as long as Coach Falami, I was going to retire, but parents called me and asked me to come back. Some of these young ladies came to me 2 years ago, and when they came, they were playing dodgeball, even though we were playing volleyball. And I said to these very young ladies, I said, I need your help. And they asked me, what does that look like? I said, I need you to attack the ball. And from that day forward, we have been on one accord. Last but not least, our last game was last Thursday. Bab Middle School was winning. Everybody in the stand was really nervous. I wasn't, because I have a strategy. And I pulled 2 of my players who not present here and said, this is how we're going to come back from that loss set to win that set to come up to win this set, which would let me take home the trophy. So I said to my servant, we're going for Little Johnny. Little Johnny is a word that we call for the target. Your vocabulary is target, my vocabulary is Little Johnny. And we go for Little Johnny. I'm gonna let them give their name and age and school and hand the mic back to me, and I'm gonna take my seat.
Hi, I'm Ava Walker. I go to David C. Howard Middle School and I'm 13.
My name is Janine Rosario. I go to Elite Scholars Academy and I am 13 years old.
My name is Bimasola Rio. I'm 14 and I go to Elite Scholars Academy.
My name is Carson Blakes and I'm 9 years old and I go to K Place Elementary.
My name is Skylar Sherfield. I'm 14 and I go to Utopian Academy.
So if I could ask the governor body to please come and take a photo with the girls, I would greatly appreciate it. I was gonna say being your dad, but I want to be in your dad. I appreciate it. Ricky.
That doesn't come from.
I didn't look at it. It'd be like, I didn't think we used it first. Yeah, I'll look at it in the morning. I just saw it in.
John.
I'm not gonna do that till Logan. And you were gonna do it. That would have been a moment.
I used to have this little trophy that was a rock, but they took it away from me. I would just give it to people. To take little stuff. Where's Park Pen or something?
All right, public comments. Mr. Zach Parker.
Mayor.
No. It's okay.
Howdy. I've stood at this podium countless times, desperately trying to make you all see what I've known for years. I've showed truths you chose not to hear, raised alarms you willingly ignored, and offer evidence you purposefully overlooked. And every single time I've been dismissed, silenced, or worse, intimidated and retaliated against, most times by the government and or police of Forest Park. So you'll forgive me if I find it painfully ironic that the mayor's recent memo spelling out a crude FU is what's finally opening some of your eyes. Not all of you, apparently. Some of you. Suddenly, some of you are shocked. Where was this outrage when I spoke about blatant corruption, intimidation, and civil rights violations? Where was the anger when my safety and well-being were threatened and continue to be threatened by those in power? There was no censure when the mayor violated my civil rights right here in this room. There was no censure when y'all didn't have the proper number of meetings per month twice. And for my councilwoman, Ward 1, not to vote with the censure, while not surprising, is completely appalling. It's ridiculous. It's just crazy. And as always, they don't even pay attention to me while I speak. It's disrespectful. Anyway. I don't even know why I come up here anymore. I really don't. As I told, y'all don't like to hear me. I know y'all don't. It's obvious. So y'all be happy to know I will be moving out of Forest Park shortly, because of all of the nonsense that continues to be thrown my way. Simply because I've just never belonged here, and it's just crazy. Anyway, her shocking message perfectly captures the contempt she's shown me for years, a contempt you all have implicitly endorsed through your silence and indifference. Tonight, I don't stand here asking for your understanding or acceptance anymore. It's clear now I never belonged. I stand here only to say this. Remember, you chose to ignore my voice. When truth knocked, you turned away. Now, when the consequences are undeniable and the city's image tarnished once more, I hope you remember every time you stayed silent when you could have stood with me. Enjoy your city.
Thank you. Ms. Falami?
Good evening, governing body. Thank you all so much for allowing that presentation for the children, but back to this 3 minutes. To get the memo, I was here, but I left. And to hear of some words that were placed into a memorandum about a veto. I am mostly upset because I want to apologize to my neighbors of Forest Park because I introduced this mayor to this city.
Yes, you did.
I would have never in my life thought that we would go this low to send a message through a memo. I had so much respect for that person, and I have to direct all my comments to the mayor. But as the previous mayor said here, I raised this very agenda. I said some people feel down, some people look down, but some people just low down. And I sit this down and I reminded myself, I said, oh, I forgot to tell you, some people are two-faced coming in, and some people have 54 faces once you get into a position. And what does that look like? That look like if they show you who they are, that's who they are. I am not a person to beg or borrow. I am not a person with issue. I am a person of solution. And when I bought this person here, I had a plan. One plan was to introduce you to transition our city. So in saying that, I would say thank you. Thank you for what you have done. And I'm going to say thank you for what you didn't do. But on the other hand of all of this, I would be very remiss out of the 19,091 citizens if I would not say I am so disappointed in you. Due to the fact you are a college graduate, you're smart, you're brilliant, and I just want to know one thing. Would you ever say to us, you're sorry? Would you ever say to those who really support you, you're sorry? Would you ever say to yourself, you're sorry? Would you ever say to the Lord, you're sorry? Because you're going to school for theological, I understand. God said, love thy neighbors as you love thyself. But I'm going to say this for a word of wisdom. It rains on the just as well as it rains on the unjust. I don't have a heaven and hell for you, and neither do you have for me. But to my colleagues in the Atlanta Regional, my apologies to you, and I yield my time.
Thank you. Okay. Miss Ann Keith.
I'm Ann Keith. I live on Evans Drive. I too am very disappointed in all of my council. And one thing I don't want to get into what happened or anything. I just want to tell you something that I learned young in my professional life. You don't have to like someone to respect someone, but you have to respect to be respected. And I feel like we don't respect each other up here. And I feel like as a citizen, I think we respect, and I would appreciate if you guys could work together and act like adults and act like citizens that have been elected into office. One thing about this that really concerns me is our city manager, Ricky Clark. We could not ask for a better city manager than Ricky Clark. He has driven our city. We're moving ahead. We're moving ahead. We don't need this bickering. We need our city to be united. We need people to be excited about moving here. We have a wonderful Forest Park staff that is going under the leadership of Ricky Clark that I love. I mean, you guys are so awesome. You're so respectful, so kind, so excited about being here and working for our city. I don't want to jeopardize losing Ricky Clark and our employees because of our actions up front. I just want you guys to work to move our city forward. That's what I want. On another note, as a beautification representative from the Beautification Committee, this Saturday, June 7th, 10 a.m., 785, right behind the Planning and Zoning. Please come for our beautification cleanup. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Derek Wilson.
Greetings, Mayor, City Council, and City Manager. My name is Derek Wilson. I reside at 385 Green Hill Way. I've been a citizen for Forest Park for almost 5 years now. Well, actually more. I moved out of town, came back. My concern tonight is that when I moved back into Forest Park in my neighborhood, it was a nice neighborhood. I saw the potential in Forest Park and everything as it was growing and developed, and had no problems with my neighbors. But within the last year and a half, it seems like one neighbor has weaponized city services against the rest of the community. If you have deliveries, Amazon, DoorDash, they'll call the police and be like, no parking. If you have friends visiting, it got to a point where police was called, we had a discussion, I called code enforcement. I asked code enforcement to let me know what was the requirements for off-street parking. and to get back with me. Never heard back from code enforcement. Within 2 to 3 months later, 2 to 3 weeks later, got signs on both sides of the streets. On one side of the street, it had no parking previous to that. On the other side, on my side, it didn't have it. So we parked in front of my house, only my son, because he had to go to work early in the morning. But now we have to park in the driveway, so that inconveniences the whole house because different people go to work at different times of the day. So, and we have to get our kids out. But I say that to say, what is the requirement for off-street parking in Forest Park? Because we went to Public Works and we were told it's no off-street parking in Forest Park. But then it's only no parking signs on part of the street, but it's people still parking on the street on the other half. And the only time people should be up in our community is if you have business in our community. It's not one of those streets where people are just hanging out or anything of that nature. You literally belong there if you're coming there. So you're either Amazon, DoorDash, visiting people if you're coming to that community. So we want to know as a community, and we're working to get organized to know what do we have to do to get those signs removed, or if it's no parking, when can we have someone meet with us to help us understand what is the requirements for the city of Forest Park for off-street parking? Thank you.
All right, thank you. And the city manager has your information. He'll be in touch. Ms. Lois Wright?
Good evening.
Good evening.
Mayor and Council. My name is Lois Wright. My address is 5401 Lee Circle, Forest Park, GA, 30297. I'm here asking again, excuse me? You saying something to me? Oh, okay. About the recycle center. Mr. Clark, you said you was gonna get back with us about that. The recycle center, even if we can't have it open every day, we really need at least 1 or 2 days would help. Everybody's asking about that. And then when we have the recycle day or the clean sweep day, it used to be we could set stuff out in front of our house, in front of our yard, and the city would come by and pick it up. Now we got to figure out a way to get it on Forest Parkway back there in the little area where we put it at. And that, I can't do that. I don't have a truck. And I have stuff that needs to be recycled or needs to go to the recycle center. So I ask again, when are you gonna, or is there any way, put it in this year's budget, last year's budget, can we get that recycle center open at least once a week or twice a week? That's one thing. Now the second is, I've been living at my address since 1997. And my street has never been paved. It's been patched up for the last 28 years, and it's really bad. And over the years, the demographic had changed, and a lot of people have businesses, and they bring in trucks, you know, bigger trucks with their equipment and stuff. It's really bad. So I'm asking for Lee Circle to be on that list this year because I've been asking for 3 years, and it's just getting worse and worse. That's all I got to say.
Thank you. Mr. Dwayne Thomas? Is that on the list?
Excuse my dress code. I've been mentoring and chasing boys and getting run from boys all day. But good evening, members of the City Council. I'm Dwayne Thomas, resident at 4404 Curry Court. To our mayor and the fellow community members, I stand before you today with great excitement to invite everyone to a special event that's about giving back to our community. On Saturday, this Saturday, July the 7th, from 3 to 7, we will be hosting a community giveaway at Scott Boulevard Park and Forest Park and in Unido's school parking lot. This free event is designed to serve and uplift the families in our community by offering free housewares, clothing, baby items, and more. We'll also have fun and exciting activities for the entire family, including bounce houses, gaming truck, food trucks, and a live DJ. And as y'all know, I am the dancing cop, so you know we're gonna be out there doing some line dances. It's going to be a day of celebration, connection, and community fun. But this event is about more than just giving things away. It's about showing up for each other. It's about proving that when we come together, we can make Forest Park stronger, more unified, and more supportive for everyone who calls it home. One of our featured partners is Dog Tag Jeepers. They will be in attendance giving away thousands of items to residents, and in a special act of appreciation, all military veterans who attend will receive brand new sheets, pillows, and comforters while supplies last. I want to personally invite everyone here tonight and ask you to spread the word to your friends, family, and neighbors. This event is for all ages, and we want to fill the park with love, laughter, and unity. And let's make a celebration of the people who make this city great. Families can register at this event at www.dwaynethomasjr.org, and I encourage everyone to come out, relax, enjoy the day, and take part in a meaningful occasion. I also want to give a heartfelt thanks to our sponsors, Change Center Mentoring Group, Dog Tag Jeepers, Governor's Glen, and the Clayton County Community Services for their incredible support, their commitment to our residents, and this mission makes it all possible. So let's come together. Let's support one another. Let's make this event a one to remember. Thank you for your time, and I look forward to seeing you all there.
Thank you.
3 to 7.
And Mr. Evans.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'm Carl Evans, 4726 Burks Road, Forest Park, Georgia. As I mentioned, I'm here again about waste management and them putting the cans on sidewalks and driveways and things like that. They can't be blocking the sidewalks when you've got disabled people walking down the street with walkers or on, and or wheelchairs and things like that, and they can't navigate around those things. And whether if they're using the people, they can easily put the can back where they found it. And if they're using that arm, then if it can reach over that sidewalk to reach in your yard to pick that can up, it can push it back in the same place. Also on this other matter, as a Christian and ordained minister, all I got to say is all of us sin. We make mistakes. Ye without sin cast the first stone. And also, you need to repent and ask God for your forgiveness. And because if we continue on, God's not going to bless this city. I've seen this whole council up here, and then with changes and things through the years, fussing and fighting and arguing and talking over each other and at each other and about each other and everything else, not acting in a professional manner and definitely not following rules of order. They're just not, it's not been done. So if we're going to try to move this city forward, let's try to act in a professional manner, not only during these times when we've got citizens sitting there watching us, but also when there's things happen, when you're out someplace at the grocery store or whatever, and you don't think people see you, you can't be using profanity or buying a bunch of booze or doing different things like that,
Drink.
is not the right thing to be projecting yourself as a member of this community, and especially a member of the council. Thank y'all very much.
Thank you. City Manager.
Yes, ma'am. First, for starters, at a time when division and discord seems to saturate so much of the public discourse for government across the world, I believe it, from a leadership standpoint, we always have to strive to listen more intently, speak more kindly, and work together with purpose and unity. Oftentimes, when sitting on the dais, it is not easy as city manager to deliver information because in real time, I am trying to provide real facts and real numbers to this governing body. At times, some things that we say come off in a way that we did not intend it for it to come off. And one of the things I preach to this staff is that in all things, disagreements, differences of opinions that comes from the simple virtue of us being from different walks of life, we must always respect each other. And so I want to take this opportunity, not because I was asked, but because I always believe in doing the right thing. That's my legacy and that is my brand. And so I want to apologize to Councilwoman Wells if the feedback relative to the financing of the events came off disrespectful. That was not my intent. And I represent this staff and the assurance that we'll always do things the right way. And the most professional thing that you can do is recognize those opportunities to simply say, I apologize. So Councilwoman Latresa Akins Wells, I apologize to you if my comments came off as offensive. That was not my intent, but I believe that's something that we display in our work with this staff. And who would I be as a leader if I did not take the opportunity to practice what I preach to them each and every day? I wanted to take an opportunity to go through the city manager's capital projects report. However, first I'm going to ask Lieutenant Maloriel Anderson to come to an introduction of our new officers that are here with the Forest Park Police Department because they are on the clock. All right, Lieutenant Anderson.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, and our wonderful city manager. I would like to introduce our newest officers. This is Officer Madison.
Oh,
Are you playing the basketball game? This is Officer Wilson. Secret weapon. And this is Officer Howard. And here's our wonderful chief.
And real quick, sorry. And we also have Miss Victoria Favors. She joins us on the records department. All of our recent new hires, and luckily we was able to steal them from some of the other jurisdictions. Big Madison. He comes from Mississippi. He was
Make sure you introduce him to Michelle.
And then Mrs. Wilson, she comes by way of Stockbridge. And then Mr. Howard comes by way of the sheriff's office, city of Atlanta. So he has a little experience behind him as well.
okay.
Nice, welcome. I'm not gonna forget about you. We stole her from
Pop snap.
Wow. My board of health and staff, I'm giving. For stealing. Oh, well.
Welcome.
The other thing, council members, as I rush through this reporting tonight, there were some public comments. I do want to advise for Ward 4 and Lee Circle. Lee Circle is on our LMIG list. Now, that doesn't guarantee that the entirety of the road will be paved. That just means that we are securing funding for the work necessary for that particular road. Thanks to the efforts of Councilwoman Wells, and I believe we pay a percentage of the cost of said grant. So I believe it's a 60-40 split. The state gives us 60, and we have to come up with the remaining 40% based upon however many roads they fund. The other thing, as it relates to the recycling center, and its operations, we've been having those conversations for quite some time. And what we are seeing, and it was presented in one of our last meetings, we're having a lot of contamination with recycling, so there is not real recycling happening. And if one person pours contaminants in that recycling center or in the recycle bin is what Waste Management was referencing, it contaminates recycling for the entirety of the city. And so it's something that we feel we need to do some better education on and just figure out a better way to handle that for those residents that want to recycle. It is not one of those things that's added into the budget, I'll be honest with you, but it's something that we've definitely talked about for a number of years. As it relates to some of our capital projects that we have going on, I just wanted to update you on Star Park. We convened a meeting with Clayton County Water Authority on Friday of last week. We are trying to get the finalization of the approvals, and everything relative to Star Park will be ready to go. And that includes the revamp of the entire park, as well as the new amphitheater that you see here at Star Park. For Ward 1, Wall Drive Sidewalk, that is an ongoing project that we plan on letting here in the next few months. For Ward 2, the Forest Park City Center is ongoing. Of course, as all of you know, we're in the value engineering phase of that. On tonight, you approved the contract with the architect for continuation of construction assistance and architectural assistance. The park signs project, which was reflective of every ward, as well as the Forest Park vehicle storage for our fire department. All of that work is underway. For Ward 3, the Conley Road sidewalk, Councilman Gutierrez, I know this is in its investigatory stage with our public works team. Metcalf Road extension, this is something that is being funded by the developer over at Fort Gillum. And the theater park renovations is something that's in its investigatory stage as well. For Ward 4, Lindenway sidewalk and drainage improvements, again, that project is underway. We have four to five more properties that will be condemned, and that project will be ready to move forward. The basketball courts on Perkins and First Street have been completed, and I think they are being used, heavily used.
Second Street.
I'm sorry, I said First Street. It is Second Street, you're right. For Ward 5, all of the upgrades to the Alder Park playground. We just wanted to show for the community what some of these projects look like and some of the funding. Again, that landscape median project, again, this project runs down Forest Parkway, and as soon as you get off of 75 all the way down to Jonesboro Road. We have received bids. We plan on presenting this to mayor and council at our next meeting. And I believe that the bids came back around $400,000 for that landscaping project along that Forest Park median. Star Park renovations, again, we're waiting on the water authority to finalize approval of said plans. Again, these numbers that are anticipated here were the anticipated funding numbers when these projects first were discussed 10 plus years ago. So of course, with inflation, all of the costs have changed. The city center was anticipated at 19.5. The bids came back at 129. And so when you hear us talking at 124, I'm sorry, when you hear us talking about the value engineering aspect, we're looking at all facets of the building to reduce the cost of the total project. Park signs, that project is complete. Linda Way, we've talked about that. The Grapevine, we talked about earlier in this meeting. Metcalf Road extension, that is a project over at Fort Gillum that is paid by an external source. The vehicle storage facility, thanks to the efforts of our amazing fire department, the vehicle storage facility will not cost us $9.5 million, nowhere close to that. Conley Road sidewalks is something that is underway, as well as we've mentioned Theater Park. For the community, this is a look of what the city center will look like. Again, it's approximately 200,000 square feet. Building with surface parking to include offices for our council members, administration, city departments to include public police headquarters, recreation and leisure, and the senior center. The funding from this project came from some bonds that were issued. Several years ago, there was a bond in the amount of $40 million that was issued, as well as the Splast funds that we talked about on tonight. Based upon a collective effort, that money has been put in an interest-bearing account, and we are collecting over $100,000 per month on that money that's just sitting there waiting on us to initiate the groundbreaking for this city center project. So our money is making money for us while it just sits there in anticipation of this project. This is a full view of the renovations of Star Park. The only thing that this does not show is the amphitheater, which is over in this corner, but it shows the walking trails redefined as well as the other areas. I think Star Park has been talked about for probably, I think Councilwoman Wells said over 15 years, just the renovations happening to Star Park. But we are right at the finish line. The only thing that we're waiting on is the approval from the Water Authority. And what we're trying to do because of inflation, we are trying to do the stormwater measures for for both Star Park and the City Center at one time, because we believe we will save costs based upon the infrastructure that is needed to mitigate the stormwater runoff. And so we have a meeting with the Water Authority on this Friday to finalize those efforts. The Water Authority already has the civil drawings for review. And as soon as they provide their approvals, our procurement department is ready to release this project on the street for a competitive bid process. This here shows the park monument signs that were done for each of the respective wards. The only difference is we've added beautification and lighting to the majority of these signs, I believe, but this just shows some of that new and fresh branding that's happening here in Forest Park. Again, we've talked about the grapevine, and the ongoing efforts there. And again, we just wanted to provide this report just to show you a snapshot and the community a snapshot of where we are with some of these capital projects. The other thing that I would like to show you is real quickly just some of the results from our employee survey that we did, just so that you can see the culture and its growth inside of Forest Park. So when asked how satisfied are our employees with their current job role, you can see an overwhelming percentage said satisfied. In fact, it was 55% of our employees say they're satisfied, and another 40% said they're very satisfied. There were 1% of employees that said they were dissatisfied. The next question asked, how would you rate your level of engagement at work? Mr. Virgil, we'll keep going. You'll see overwhelming majority shows that they were very engaged or engaged. When asked how clear are you about your job responsibilities and expectations, one of the things we've been preaching through the executive offices is not just optimization, but making certain that our employees know why they are doing the work that they are doing. You can see here that 55% of our employees said that those expectations are clear, and another 38% said extremely clear. And again, you still had one employee that completed this survey that showed that it was extremely unclear. Whenever you're using surveys, you always take in all of the data and you analyze it. So we don't just want this information to be positive. We want to know what is a benchmark for us to start at and improve the conditions. Question number 5 was, how would you rate the level of teamwork and collaboration among your teamwork and collaboration amongst your coworkers? Overwhelming majority said that they would rate it excellent, 42% in fact. You know, in this one, we saw about 20% saying that the condition was fair. So we know as an organization that this is just something we need to focus on and make certain that those expectations of those employees are extremely clear. How would you rate your current job performance? Again, overwhelming majority said that 47% said excellent, 49% said good, and about 3 employees said fair. But if you'll notice with this question, there was not one employee that said their conditions were poor. And I think this is largely attributed to the work of the governing body and the funding to begin some of these upgrades around the city, even as we wait on some of these capital projects. The next question was, do you believe you have the necessary resources and tools to perform your job effectively? The feedback here, most of the time rated highest at 70%. The next question that we asked was, are there adequate opportunities for professional development? As most of you know, we really prioritize ensuring that our employees and our workforce has access to these opportunities for professional growth. 79% of them said yes. And there was a question to where if you answered no, please share what type of professional development opportunities you would like to see. Mr. Virgil, if you will drop that down where the responses are, if it comes up. And you can see here, some of it is cross-training. Some of it is just figuring out timelines. Some of it, there has not been time. Some of it, employees who dedicate their time to being at work and what that scheduling opportunities look like. We understand the complexities as we go off of this question. We understand the complexities of our public safety employees and their limited avenues for some of the professional development opportunities as we go off of this question that some of our other departments have. You know, as we continue to go through this survey to the next question. What type of training do you believe would be most beneficial? One of the things I want to call to your attention, Council, overwhelmingly, the number one thing that stands out here is leadership development and technical skills. So while we're focused on a lot of things for optimization, what our employees have shared with us is that they care more about simply leadership development and honing in on some of those technical skills that they feel would be relevant to their respective jobs. We have partnered with Clayton State University to offer a more comprehensive and targeted approach for this next cohort so that we began to speak to some of that professional development that our employees are seeking. Question number 10, how satisfied are you with career advancement opportunities? One of the things I tell our leaders in this city is that you should be training those individuals under you to take your job, right? That's succession planning, and every great leader trains the next generation of leaders. That's why when we have executive cabinet meetings, our directors have to bring their second in commands so that if anything happens, those seconds can take over the reins for the department. You can see here that 65% of our employees were either satisfied, which is 58 employees. Another 18 employees showcased that they were very satisfied with their opportunities here. How would you rate the support you received from their supervisors? Overwhelming majority, 56%, said that it is excellent. We recognize, because these numbers are growing as it relates to fair and poor, that there is still opportunities for us to ensure that our directors are providing sound and succinct leadership. And that goes through all of the executive offices, including the office of the city managers. Question number 12, do you believe your ideas and suggestions are valued by management? Again, here you can see the overwhelming majority. Most of the time, our employees do feel like they are valued. All right, next question, please. Overall, how satisfied are you with your experience as an employee with the city of Forest Park? And again, these surveys are completed independently by the employee. You can see overwhelming majority say they are satisfied at 58%, with another 35% signaling that they are very satisfied. And then we just had open suggestions that I won't belabor the time and go through for this meeting, but I wanted you to show context of what happens when we leverage data to guide our path. That way, what we are doing is ensuring that from the policy lens, we're ensuring sound policy that speaks to the core of what we want to see happen in this community from a strategic standpoint. And when we have opportunities like this to engage our employees to figure out how do they feel about their work environments, it just allows us to see in real time. No organization gets it right 100% of time. No employee is excited about working 100% of the time because of the tough decisions that we have to make. But overall, what we're able to see from this survey year after year is that we keep pushing that needle further each and every time that we do this survey. So again, it is my honor to serve as your city manager, and it's been my honor to present to you all of that valuable insight and information. And it is my hope and desire that this information continues to guide our path as one of the greatest cities to live, work, and play in the world.
Thank you very much for that report. We do have a public hearing. So I'm going to ask for a motion to recess the regular meeting so we can enter into the public hearing for the proposed fiscal year 25-26 budget.
So moved.
That was Councilwoman James. There's a second by Councilman Mears. Is there any discussion? Ms. Rainey?
Councilmember James?
Yes.
Councilmember Gunn? Councilmember Gutierrez?
Yes.
Councilmember Akins-Wells?
Yes.
Councilmember Mears?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, so per our charter, 10 minutes is allotted per side. Anyone who wanted to speak about the budget that's in favor of, you may line up at the podium now. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I am in favor, but there are some things here I would like to see that each of the department get with each other, to get with Mr. Williams and Mr. Clark to specify exactly what it is that you need to be entered into the budget. So to be clear, it won't come where you have to be conversating, debating about what was said, what's not said. We need to start getting more things in black and white for us and for you. Search conversation with the policies along with whatever can help us move forward with our city parts. We need to make sure they are specified in details what this 43 million is going to be representing. Each time we go into our budget, we start out great. I can't think, we have had probably about 6 city managers. But however, Mr. Clark, you are the final one that is actually helping us to execute some things that all you and your executive team had to do was come in, sign, and get to work on it. So I thank you for that. Needless to say, we don't have a problem with our money. We are really well budget. We set. I think the problem we are having is moving the money to be something productive. We are in the heart of the crusher at the international airport to the international farmers market that is shut down. You got people off the street saying they're farmers. We just got to get back on terms with what our economic development actually look like. I noticed that I don't see our economic director here no longer. I don't know what happened or how, but we need to actually execute things that make sense. And also, even though you are our voices and you are who we pay to execute for us, I think y'all need to get back to listen to the citizen as well. The citizen has some great ideas. The citizen can bring some things to the front for you to carry for us. That's why we carry you here. I'm not going to procrastinate about this. 43 million in the city of Fort Park look like this. This is a sad day. 43 million and there is no infrastructure face up. This is a sad day. 43 million and you can't see a new vision. You don't have a new mission. It's a sad day. I'm reminded of a verse in Habakkuk said, how about writing the mission and just make it plain? Just because I can see the bridge coming from Main Street to the Civic Center over here and you can't, that doesn't mean that it's not a good idea. That just means you haven't caught up with the time. Time are changing. Centuries are changing. By the time you catch up with this, you're going to see planes like the jet or cartoon. We're going to be flying. And we still, no, this is a serious point. We still haven't moved anything on ground. Shaky ground is where we stand. I'm getting my 10 minutes. I'm going to tell you directly, I would hope and pray that with this budget that we have, that we actually start some type of development. Number one, the master plan for this Star Park area should have been going up 20 years ago. We still talking about getting it up. So my only thing, I'm for the budget. I'm for what you have here. Education. I do a literacy reading for over 27 years right here. I utilize some of the administrators right here who come out and read for us. Let's put something in place that we don't have to creep and hide when we are working together. I'm gonna yield my time, but think about 43 million, we look like this. That's sad.
Anyone else? All right, not seeing anyone. Is there anyone who is not in favor of this budget? You may line up at the podium now. All right, not seeing anyone. Is there a motion to close out the public hearing and reconvene into our regular meeting?
So moved.
That was Councilwoman James. Is there a second? All right, that was Councilwoman Gunn. All right, Ms. Randy, please.
Councilmember James?
Yes.
Councilmember Gunn?
Yes.
Councilmember Gutierrez?
Yes.
Councilmember Akins-Wells?
Yes.
Councilmember Mears?
Yes.
All right, thank you. We did the consent agenda. All right, council approval of a resolution authorizing the allocation and use of funds for each line item within the ward, including the establishment of a monthly reporting process, as well as clarification on the accounting and tracking of donations received.
So move. I vote that we approve this item.
That was Councilwoman James. Is there a second?
A second.
That was Councilman Mears. Is there any discussion?
So
Miss-
quick question.
Oh, yes, sir.
Mayor, so, I guess it wouldn't just this be an order to the city manager to give us a report? Like, why are we voting on it?
Right.
Oh, there's a resolution, is it?
There isn't a
Oh,
resolution for
okay.
this one, because it's not it doesn't have to be an action. But there's no harm in voting on it, right?
Okay,
Since it's already started.
thank you.
Ms. Rainey?
Council,
Can I ask this question, Mayor Butler?
Sure.
We talked about that policy. Do you think it's beneficial to bring that before the body for adoption, or maybe I can ask if
No.
I don't think any of them have seen what was provided. And so we could do that, develop a policy if the governing body wishes to. As a matter of a directive, the monthly report is going to be provided. Matter of fact, we have the report already for you for the previous month. So that doesn't even require a vote, but you can put that in the policy for the governing body to be provided every month with that monthly finance report, itemized by the 5th of every month or something.
Okay. There's a motion on the floor. Ms. Rainey?
Councilmember James.
Yes.
Councilmember Gunn. Councilmember Gutierrez.
Yes.
Councilmember Akins Wells.
Yes.
Councilmember Mears.
Yes. Yeah.
All right, that's executive session. Council approval of a resolution for task order number PPI 2025.01A for Precision Planning, Inc. to provide construction documents and permitting services for the new city center. Is there a motion to approve this item?
So move.
That was Councilwoman James. Is there a second? That was Councilwoman Gunn. Is there any discussion? Miss Randy, please.
Councilmember James.
Yes.
Councilmember Gunn.
Yes.
Councilmember Gutierrez.
Yes.
Councilmember Akins Wells.
Yes.
Councilmember Mears.
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Council approval of a resolution authorizing a budget amendment for the general fund and police special funds.
So move.
Thank you. That was Councilwoman James. Is there a second? That was Councilwoman Gunn. Is there any discussion? All right, Miss Randy.
Councilmember James.
Yes.
Councilmember Gunn.
Yes.
Councilmember Gutierrez.
Yes.
Councilmember Akins Wells.
Yes.
Councilmember Mears.
Yes.
All right, council approval of a resolution authorizing the Forest Park Fire and EMS trade and/or exchange for fire engine 1 aerial.
So move.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, that was Councilman Gutierrez. Is there any discussion? Miss Rainey, please.
Councilmember James.
Yes.
Councilmember Gunn.
Yes.
Councilmember Gutierrez.
Yes.
Councilmember Akins Wells.
Yes.
Councilmember Mears.
Yes.
All right, the censure. Is there a motion to approve the censure for Mayor Angeline Butler for unprofessional conduct?
So move.
That was Councilman Gutierrez. Is there a second?
Second.
That was Councilwoman Wells. Is there any discussion? Miss Rainey?
Councilmember James.
No.
Councilmember Gunn.
Yes.
Councilmember Gutierrez.
Yes.
Councilmember Akins Wells.
Yes.
Councilmember Mears.
Abstain.
All right, the sound, were we voting on the sound equipment? Or were you taking that off? Mr. Clark, sound equipment?
Yes.
We're gonna vote on it?
I think
What,
we
I
need
can't
to
remember what the
condition-
motion is.
Yeah.
The conditions are, the governing body is directing us to have dialogue with the actual sound company relative to the issues that have been found. Second, we are going to investigate, is there a way for us to go on a month-to-month, a 3 months or something to get us through, working through some of these kinks. And finally, some assurances from them that we'll get everything that's specified within the scope of services that has been provided.
Oh, I was not writing that down.
City manager. Also,
instead of, a 30-day, before the contract come back around. Possibly putting out the notice 3 months ahead of time or 2 months, 60-day to 90-day instead of 30 days.
As a matter of practice, I can direct our procurement manager to get those items in 90 days out. I think it should be doable because we have a running list now of where all of those contracts out. So, as a directive to staff on the record, the motion can include ensuring that contracts are presented to the governing body a period of no less than 90 days prior to its expiration for consideration from this body. I think I covered it all.
Yes.
Okay, so state the motion for this item.
So move. I'll second.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
I'm
Ms.
sorry,
Rainey.
could you tell me who did the motion and who seconded? I didn't catch it.
Councilwoman Wells made the motion.
Okay.
And then Councilwoman James did the second.
Thank you.
The vote, please.
Councilmember James,
Yes.
Councilmember Gunn,
Yes.
Councilmember Gutierrez,
Yes.
Councilmember Akins Wells,
Yes.
Councilmember Mears.
Yes, ma'am.
We do have executive session. All right, Councilwoman James, closing comments.
Thank you all for coming up, showing up. Have a good night.
Councilwoman Gunn?
Thank you, guys. Shout out to our code enforcement. They did an amazing job. Our sassy seniors, you guys, it would not have been a block party without these ladies. I truly enjoyed them. To our residents that showed up, thank you so much for your time and allowing us to love on you and just to pour out information to you.
Yeah, thank you, everybody, for coming out today. Appreciate the public comments. Mr. Parker, I hope that you you have a safe move wherever you go. And as odd as it may sound, I will miss your accountability with certain things. And I hope that, you know, you're safe wherever you go. Besides that, we have a summer series going on. We're going to be showing the Star Wars movies. And thank you just again, everybody, for coming out and the patience. The young ladies, congratulations, Dr. Falami. That is amazing. And I'm just really, really proud of them. And, you know, it's not easy to win out like that and beat our police department, who by default, if you beat the police department, you beat the fire department, because the police department beat the fire department. So in essence, it's kind of like 1, 2, 3. But I will say, Chief, you have an excuse, because when Big Madison came down, I was like, okay, nobody's getting in the paint with that guy, so it's gonna be rough. But yeah, with that, thank you, City Manager, for all those surveys. It really feels good to see that you all enjoy your workplace. Work culture is very important. So that's that with that. And just to my Hispanic community, there's a lot of uncertainty. I've been getting a lot of calls. And it's really hard to come and just not have a solution for things. A lot of families are suffering now. So, you know, if you have a neighbor that might not, you know, have the proper, you know, documentation, or, I mean, if you have a Hispanic neighbor, most likely they're suffering somehow. Just, you know, leave a prayer out for them and just think about them, because it's really hard. Little people come to this land with a lot of dreams. I'm the son of an immigrant father. I mean, shoot, I'm an immigrant myself, because I was born in Uruguay, but this is my home. And, you know, if somebody were to take me and, you know, put me somewhere else where I was born, I would really struggle. So just, you know, keep that in mind with our community, because we do have a large population. But yeah, but with that being said, business is still going to keep going here. There's no hard feelings towards anybody. We got to keep moving and keep making things happen here in Forest Park. Thank you, everybody, for listening, and also the people listening online. I appreciate you as well. Let's continue to make our city better.
Thank you all so much for coming out. I would also like to say to Zach, your complaints and issues that you had did not fall on deaf ears. I think some of us did what we could do, but again, I'm only one person. But yeah, I hate to see you go. Thank you for holding all of us accountable, because at the end of the day, we all have to be held accountable. And I say that to say, I'm not perfect. I'm far from perfect. Now, Mr. Evans, I am gonna go to the store if I want to and grab me something to drink because I'm grown and I can do that. And being an elected official doesn't mean I can't do that. And so I think when people say you're an elected official, that means they think that your life is supposed to stop, and that you aren't human and that you won't make mistakes. But it don't mean that you won't be held accountable for those mistakes. And so to put us in a category and say, oh, if you go to the liquor store, you're committing a sin, we commit sin just by walking out the door. A lot of us are committing sins. And a lot of us are held accountable. And I think we continue to brush a lot of things under the rug when it comes to certain individuals, but then we want to call other individuals out. And I just say, let's be consistent in all things. So yeah, I think leadership is very important. And I'll say over and over again, I'm not perfect. I curse. I have a drink every now and then, but I'm also a Christian that's being worked on, just like a lot of us. And so hold me accountable. Hold me accountable. I don't take it to heart when people get up here and say things because we aren't perfect, but we will hold each other accountable. And so thank you, Councilwoman Gunn, for your teaming up with code enforcement. I heard it was an amazing event. I couldn't be there because I have a job. So I apologize for not being there, but thank you to Director Walker and your team for all that you all bring to the city of Forest Park. I heard it was an amazing time. Our park was packed, and that's what we're used to in the city of Forest Park. I grew up with our parks being utilized and the people enjoying their community. And so I just appreciate you coming in, hitting the ground running. And Officer Thomas, I don't know if y'all have heard this man preach, but Lord have mercy. I was working, right? I work for Delta, but I work from home. And I had my phone propped up and the computer screen right there. He even sent me to YouTube. If you all have not heard him, like, you are truly a man of God, and I thank God for you. I thank God for what you're doing, and this is minus anything else, just a resident and an employee of Forest Park. I thank you for what you're bringing to our community because we need that. Our young guys need that mentorship program that you have, and thank you for coming to give back to our community. You are greatly appreciated. And so thank you all so much for coming out, and you all have a blessed night.
Councilman Mears.
Well, I want to thank you also, and I always have to recognize Mr. Finch back here in the back, the oldest sexy citizen in Forest Park. Thank you for coming.
Councilwoman James.
Yes, I did forget two things that I was going to mention. One is when you all make public comments, you do not have to say your address. It is broadcast live. We do have your address on paper, so please keep your address private and don't put it out to the world to see because we can't kind of like block it. And the other thing I would say is Green Hill Way. I have had conversations with our public works director and our chief, and Mr. Clark, I forgot to mention to you about the no parking sign. So we will remove one from one side of there, but keep in mind there was a fire on that street as well. And also our streets are small. So I am going to be bringing to the governing body and working with staff and everyone to try to figure out what the best policy is for our city, because I know there's another neighbor that lives on another street that their driveway is blocked when they try to back out. One of our seniors, there's in the room today, so I'm not going to mention their name, but we do have an issue with the streets being small in our community, and it is a hindrance for if you park in front of someone's driveway and they're trying to back out, especially if they're elderly or even young people, driving for the first time, So there is a policy that I am going to try to bring to the governing body and also try to get the community to give us feedback because we do have narrow streets. And that's just a fact. And I think, I can't remember the dimensions. Mr. Matthews told me what the dimensions of our streets were. I can't remember. Remember? Yeah, 24 feet. So 20 feet. So, and it has to be a certain length for our emergency vehicles to get by. So just know that it's a work in progress, and we are trying to make things better for you as you go in and out of your community.
I forgot to say we have a food truck Friday coming this Friday, and we also have a bingo night. So if you want to get beat up and bullied by our seniors in bingo, You are welcome. 'Cause they are real about that.
Thank you. Now, mm, okay, is there, yes, ma'am.
City manager, um, I would like to have a sit down with you and with Chief Clemmings in reference of the vehicle storage facility. To talk of some things and look at some, projections potentially, on that property, okay?
Yes, ma'am. You let us know your schedule and we'll accommodate. And I can assure you, I rode by there this evening and that grass will be cut tomorrow. I did see that grass behind that fence, but before we meet, that grass will be gone. If that was what you wanted to meet
No,
about.
no.
Oh, okay. Yeah, yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Is there a motion to recess and enter into executive session for personnel, litigation, real estate, or legal matters?
So moved.
Councilwoman James, is there a second? No, Councilwoman Gunn. All right, we shall return.
Well, I would like.
Motion to adjourn the executive session and reconvene into a regular meeting.
So move.
That was Councilwoman James. Second, that was Councilwoman Gunn. All in favor?
Yes.
Now, is there a motion to appoint, what's the name? Melanie Carter to the URA board? That was, Councilwoman Gunn, no, what's the name? Wells. Oh, second,
Yes.
Councilwoman Gunn. All right, any discussion? Ms. Rainey, please.
Councilmember James.
Yes.
Councilmember Gunn.
Yes.
Councilmember Gutierrez. Councilmember Akins Wells. Councilmember Mears.
All right, meeting adjourned.
Butler, just a clarification for the record, because I think this is a longstanding issue. Can we state when the expiration of this term is on the record so that we know on record when this term expires? And this is not a full term. This is finishing the unexpired term of the board member that resigned. I think that'll help clean up these records with these board appointments because that information is not in the record. So the clerk will have that information. If we can just restate that motion. It's resolution. Okay, we just need those.
Yeah, it is.
For her name in the resolution and expired term.
You probably have a bed here. It's in the resolution.
Okay, I just
Yeah,
wanna
it's all
make
in
sure y'all
here.
don't worry,
It's
it's not
in
a- And if we're fine, we'll add it to the minutes.
Yeah, it doesn't expire until 2028 anyway,
Yeah.
so,
Yeah,
yeah.
we can just add that to the motion. Ms. Rainey.
Oh, no.
No.
What you say?
I'm taking my time as I sign this resolution here. I haven't adjourned the meeting yet.
Oh. Technically, you don't need a motion to adjourn.
But I gotta say it. Meeting adjourned.
What would happen if?
Everyone just worked